This episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Azura Giacchino of Goblin, Zellian LaFay of Fairy, Carletta of Hyperion. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/limitbreakradio.
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break with your hosts, Nero.
Guys, hang tough. I'm gonna go get some goblin army.
Kahlo.
You, though, I'd film the shit out of you.
Juxtaposition.
He's not gonna get a goblin army.
Ascalia.
You look like a Deadwood character at a Justin Bieber concert.
And Nika.
You're not the victim here!
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, episode number 40. God damn.
The big 4-0. We are finally older than a Nero looks.
Oh, dude, I feel like we have been at this for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm excited. Episode number 40.
It's like been months. We've been at this for months.
We're over the hill now.
Technically, it's been years, guys.
Yeah.
I guess
We're actually quickly approaching like as many episodes as we produced for FF11 in like, what was that, like
Really?
4 or 5 years that we did
We didn't do
LBR?
it for that long, did we?
God, yeah.
Three or four, maybe.
No, you bailed out after 3.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it all went to shit after that anyway, so we're really counting those episodes. I mean, come on, you relied on Juxt and Tam too.
And Nika was in there too.
I was there.
Oh, was Nika there too?
Nika was there too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Tam 2 was the pretty one, so that's all that really mattered at that point.
So thank you very much for joining us for Limit Break Radio. I know it's a bit of an early show today.
But it's because we're giving you more content today.
That's right.
2 o'clock used to be our normal time, though.
should be.
That's
Our normal
right.
time.
Yeah, no, 2 o'clock is generally our normal time. We do recognize that it is pretty early for West Coast viewers, but we thank you for hanging out, all 148 of you that are joining us live here on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Thank you very much. We're excited to have you here today. Joining me, of course, is Juxtaposition, Kahlo Landis, Nika Kayanian, and we are absent one number 6.
That's why it
Ascalia
doesn't
Raimaza.
smell in here so much.
Yeah, he does add a considerable funk to the room. Anyway, yeah, they Ascalia not able to join us today, and he's racing here.
Have we heard from him today?
We have not.
Is
heard
he
from
still
him today.
alive?
Yeah, I think he is.
He could be freezing in a ditch somewhere.
Don't get my hopes up.
Ascalia is
damn.
attempting to make it back here to the studio. He was on a trip of some kind this weekend, but he's attempting to make it back here by 6 or 7 o'clock. When did we actually?
I think we said 7 to be on the safe side.
I think we said 7 to be on the safe side. Yeah, 7 p.m. when we start Final Encountercast over at our other channel, twitch.tv/Final Encountercast. So if you're joining us now, stick around. We'll throw out a host to that channel when we flip over. But if you haven't yet, go on over there, follow that channel. We're going to be talking about all of the big gaming releases that have come out in the last couple of weeks. Fallout 4 on the docket. We've got some Nintendo to talk about. And
Nintendo just shitting headlines everywhere.
I know, right? Yeah, we've got a lot of Nintendo stuff to break down. And, of course, all of the latest gaming headlines. That's over on Final Encountercast. You can join us at 7 p.m. for that. But we're going to see if Ascalia can make it back to the studio in time for that. Unfortunately, not able to make it here for Limit Break Radio today. But, yeah, we're excited because we've got a special guest coming on the show today. Ayane from Reddit, one of the Reddit mods, is going to come on to the show show and talk to us about Reddit and managing a community of that size. And
sponsored content. That's what this is, right?
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's not. But although I do want to mention, if you haven't seen the latest South Park episode called Sponsored Content, go see it right now.
Now we're sponsored content.
You have to see it. No. That's a legitimate. That's from my heart. You have to go. You have to see that.
That was a freebie. That was a freebie. South Park.
There's nothing free about that. Anyway, of course, we are live from Eorzea. Let's flip it over to our studios, and we're gonna go ahead and start up the eye camera. And of course, it's
great first shot.
That's a great first shot.
We need to hire our art director.
I wish
fire our art director. What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for joining us for the show today. If you're joining us live in the studio, we want to thank you. And of course, we do ask that you sit in areas that there's chairs and spaces for. It makes the studio feel a little bit more populated, and I don't know. It's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool visual.
It's too bad they don't have mannequins in FF14 because then we could just set those up and lock everybody else out.
Right. Yeah. So. Definitely an exciting show. We're glad to have you here today. And but before we get into talking about the Reddit stuff, because I think we really want to put an end cap on this. A lot of people have been talking about it for weeks, and the
Reddit saga.
Aetheryte, it does seem to be a saga. The Aetheryte radio episode came out last week, talking about a lot of these issues. Ayane and Reshef were on that show, so we're excited to have Ayane here to be able to talk about that. But we do want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the LBR world first. We have put the finishing touches on a piece that we call the Least Quiet PSA that we're actually going to be premiering here. It's been up on YouTube for a couple of days, but we haven't made a whole lot of buzz about it. So we're going to be actually premiering it right after this episode.
Mostly because it's a buzz killer.
So you're definitely...
No, it was really well done.
You're going to want to stick around for that and check that out. But if you want to go see it, it is up on Final Encountercast's YouTube page, which we have organized some of the Final Encountercast content on our own YouTube page. We started playlists and stuff for it, so it can be found through our YouTube as well. So definitely stick around for that. It is a very revealing piece of video. So anyway, and also we want to catch you guys up on the bet. If in case you missed the last episode, we have started an epic bet here at Limit Break Radio, and we have been searching like the depths of our audience to be able to pull out donations and try to get this bet advanced. So let's give you an update on where we're at right now. Team Aniro with a significant lead, sitting at 260.
I think it's 367.
It's 367.
Oh, 367. Wow,
Yeah.
look at that. Hang on.
Camp Juxta's at 171.
171. Not,
So
haven't moved very much there, guys.
No, we haven't moved very much.
And
but
I'll tell you what.
No.
Go ahead. Give him his mic time.
Well, no, I'll tell you what. Here's the thing: is that this lead that both Ascali and I have secured over you two. I was considering streaming last night, but I saw that lead and I was like, you know what? I feel pretty okay right now. I think I could handle not streaming right now.
Has nothing to do with your budding social life.
No, nothing.
Oh, okay.
No.
I have some news pertaining to the bet too.
Okay,
Actually, I'm saying we, but really I over at Camp Juxta have actually been working on, and I believe I have secured a pretty influential backer for Camp Juxta.
Is that right?
Yes, I made them an offer that they could not refuse. Nika, would you like to say a few words, please?
No, that's okay.
Oh, come on, Nika, really?
No, it's true.
What?
It's true. I think I'm not allowed to speak of this offer. Mm-hmm. However, he made me an offer that was very tempting. So I think if you are a Nika fan, I'm seeing people asking for Camp Nika. I am throwing my towel in the Camp Juxta ring.
Oh, Interesting.
If you want to know,
but there, I see. The thing is that I think.
How did you get a hottie like that?
I think you're using hottie very liberally there.
I had to sell my soul is the answer, though.
Femrose, I don't know about that. But
I don't know. All I can think of when I think of a femro is a beautiful rose that's just in like a summer sakura bloom of weeaboo.
Oh, look at this.
No, granted, mostly it's just thorns, but there's beauty to that, too.
Okay, all right. Brambles have a certain amount of beauty, okay, I guess. Anyway, but I think an official endorsement should come with a little bit of risk involved. I think if Nika is gonna put out an official endorsement that she should have something at stake here.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's my personal opinion. So
why don't we let her think on it a little bit?
Now, this is a surprise to me. You guys didn't actually prepare me for this, so I don't have something ready for it.
Well,
so
here's the thing.
Here's
the thing, because Nika actually said when I offered her, she's like, well, maybe I should see what Aniro has to offer. And I'm like, all right, well, first of all, I don't think Aniro's going to try and bribe you with anything. That's not his style, okay? And in fact, if we told you what I offer, you'd probably just, deconstruct it and dismantle it and just insult everybody around, right? So
that's what he does.
So we are actually going to keep it under wraps because it's pretty big. I really had to sell my soul on this, okay?
Well, see, here's the question is that is she going to do any streaming for your team? I don't see that happening.
She doesn't really.
Okay.
She might. But anyway, here's what I thought we would do. Right? Would you like to offer something to steal Nika's endorsement away from
without
us?
knowing what?
That's the thing, man. You just got to go big or go home.
Nah, that's okay. I'm pretty okay.
All right. Well, because when we were talking, she was concerned. She's like, I don't know if I went on the negative aspects of this, And granted, going so far as to shave her head or something is pretty extreme, for her. So I wouldn't expect. But maybe we can talk about just like a tiny thing.
Yeah, I think there's got to be something. I think there's got to be something. If she's getting involved, then she's got to get involved. There's got to be a punishment in there too.
I don't know. That was part of the deal of giving my endorsement.
I'm not going to throw you under the bus that quick.
Yeah, the thing is that these guys don't make the rules. I don't make the rules either. We collectively negotiated the rules on the air. So
I reserve my right that if whatever we come up with is too out of what I feel comfortable doing, I will withdraw my endorsement. I reserve every right to do that.
Well, how about this? If we can't come up with something that you are willing to risk, I will take up a second.
No, I don't know about that. All right, well, we'll hammer. Yeah, we'll hammer out the specifics of this. But we've got two camps going right now: Camp Juxta, Camp Aniro. Camp Juxta just got $10 more and a request for Kahlo nudes.
And believe me, those Camp Nika people I saw, you definitely want Camp Juxta to win to see what he has to offer. I promise.
Anyway,
it's actually painful hearing her say that now.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys made the right decision. So we'll see how hard she can sell this. Anyway, so if you want to get in on the bet, you can check out our last episode number 39. There's also a clip of it up on YouTube for all of the details on what's at stake. But either way, someone's getting a tattoo on air, somebody's shaving something on air, or maybe getting waxed. We don't know. But if you want to get in on the bet, you can do that by donating a couple bucks on PayPal. All right, let's get into this issue. Joining us now, we've got Ayane. Hey, what's up, Ayane?
Oh, what's going on?
Thank you for joining us today. We are going to talk a little bit about Reddit. And so, we had this email that came in from Nikki7. This was
which was expertly read, by the way.
3 weeks ago. And it sparked quite a bit of debate, quite a bit of controversy. But I do want to say that, the origin of the criticism actually came out of some of the comments that I had made in episode episode before that about how I felt the Reddit community is run and administrated and moderated, and so we got all of the vitriol out. I think we got all of the
toxicity. Would you say?
Maybe, I don't know. I think that's a word that you could use, but
kind of douchey though.
To be fair, I don't think I've ever been quoted using that word, so we'll just leave it. We'll just leave that at that.
No.
Well, actually, subtext, that was a dig at Fusion.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No,
Spoilers.
Not very subtle there.
I gotta say, Iane, Aetherite Radio, now Limit Break Radio, you're kind of lowering your standards, man.
A bit of a downgrade, isn't it?
Next thing you know, you're going to be going on an apology tour.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I've already done plenty of those, trust me.
Oh, man. So anyway, but yeah, if you do want to listen to the latest Aetherite Radio, those guys spend about 30, 45 minutes breaking down the whole thing and talking about some of the issues regarding moderating online communities, and that's actually kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today, Ayane. Is Reddit is a really kind of unique animal, especially
really is.
Our FFXIV, because you have this greater monster that is the greater Reddit community that is not just necessarily interested in 14 or not just necessarily interested in video games, but they have a passing interest in all of these things and are potential sources of traffic for you guys. And you guys get a huge amount of traffic. So can you describe some of the challenges of managing a community that and like a discussion space that is that large?
Yeah, I can actually go over some of the traffic. And on average, we go between about 600,000 to 1.5 million unique viewers per month, which is a lot of fucking people. I mean, even at the low end, 600,000, which we were in October versus the 1.5 in July. So you can see it's kind of down by at least half.
Right.
I mean, the expansion brought a lot of people in, brought a lot of attention in, and that kind of died off slowly. But as a whole, Reddit loves drama, and Reddit loves thinking they're right about things.
Yes.
So especially when the LBR drama hit, one of the biggest reasons where we nuked all these threads was they got linked in a subreddit called Subreddit Drama.
Oh.
And I don't know if you guys know what this subreddit is.
No.
But it's basically a bunch of drama-hungry people who go around scouring all these subreddits, which they really don't care about, trying to find juicy things that are happening, and then they link back to it in their subreddit. And basically all these people, they're not technically supposed to, but they come into these threads and they basically feed and fuel this drama and upvote and downvote everyone, yada, 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 trying to create this more hostile environment.
Right,
because that's what's fun.
How little of a life might these people have if they spend their time doing that?
That sounds really, really fun.
I actually that's the thing is that, I mean, I'm sure to some of those people, they don't have an emotional investment in it. And
no, they have no. I mean, these people don't visit these subreddits. Like, if you look at their history,
right,
their entire history is nothing but posts to subreddit drama,
right,
and all that stuff, because they basically live off creating this drama.
Yeah, that was something that I was actually totally not aware of. I did not know that it got linked to subreddit drama, although I was aware of that subreddit.
How much of an effect did that actually happen, though? Because our first thread that actually stayed up enough to garner, comments and upvotes, I think got somewhere like 90-something upvotes and close to 300 comments, when I was reading through them. And granted, I just kind of scanned for mention of LBR in my name, but for the most part, a lot of the comments, were pretty on point. They were somewhat civil.
They seemed relatively productive too. Yeah.
Part of our job is trying to prevent that from happening in the first place. Like, we have the auto moderator bot, and there's a bot on Reddit called Totes Metabot or something like that.
Right.
Whenever your thread is linked cross subreddit, the bot will warn us in mod mail saying, hey, this shit's about to go down. And typically our policy is we don't want these people shitting up our subreddit.
Got it. So it was
just basically go fucking Russia and just lay everything.
It was sort of like a protective measure.
Right.
That makes sense.
And the most recent one that happened was, I don't know if you saw that Lalafell fan art thread where like the Lalafell's panties were showing or something.
No, I didn't.
People were going crazy over that, and that went to subreddit drama. And I mean, it's a headache because when you're Reddit is massive. It's like what the number, like 3 or 4 most visited site on the internet or something like that. That's not porn.
Right.
So when people catch on to this, you get a massive influx, and it gets really, really crazy.
Yeah, no, and that's I think that's pretty understandable, and like I said, our FFXIV is inherently different from running something like a Blue Garter or like running our forums.
You're being...
in that it was like it's actually part of a greater community, a greater whole that I thinking of like meta stuff like that goes down on Reddit, it happens all the time.
I feel like you're being weirdly agreeable today in Nero, because I feel like when it comes down to that kind of moderation, like being like, oh well, we want to stop this before it happens, so if here's a thread that seems somewhat productive and there's a chance that it could go down the drain, let's just nuke the thread. That I feel like that could take out a lot of really good content,
really
especially when you know
in the thread.
When you know where, like who's causing these. You have this whole subreddit of people who are specifically out to create drama. You said yourself they have a really sporadic posting history. So when you see someone posting in one of these threads, who's never been to this subreddit before, instead of taking down the whole thread, what's to stop you from trying to just take out these people that are instigating the drama? Because really, it seems like what you're doing is treating the symptoms rather than the cause.
I mean, that's definitely a fair analysis of it. I mean, it really also depends on what time it comes out and stuff like that. Sometimes it depends on the nature of the content, and like this content, it's really, really easy to latch on to some of the more negative aspects of what was said in that video. And we did leave it up for a while, and people started getting really angry and being, it was the fuck LBRs, it was the fuck Reddit, and it's like, fuck everyone, screw it, let's just hate everyone. So, I mean, Reddit, we do try and be a little all-inclusive, and I know you give us shit for being a little too PC, and I think maybe we are, maybe we aren't. I mean, if you read around, like, people always say, oh, you're selective moderating, you banned me for saying this, why didn't you ban that guy for saying that? I mean, we can't read every comment, and not every comment really crosses that threshold.
Well, and especially
being jerks,
and especially with the amount of traffic that you're getting too. How many people are on the moderation staff?
I want to say between active moderators, we maybe have 5 right now.
Wow.
I think there's maybe like 13 total. We have 2 in the Japanese time zone, and then the rest cover the North American time zone. So a lot of shit, which people are like, why didn't you delete this thread, happens during the Japanese time zone. Because if those 2 mods are busy, and a thread gets through and it already has like 300 upvotes in the morning, all of a sudden, if we delete that thread, we become shit mods who are censoring people.
I'll give you this, though. When it comes to the idea of the selective moderating, knowing how your little bot thing sends out mail and basically warns you of impending links that have been spammed all over the place, I think that the selective process doesn't come so much from favoritism or hating on certain groups as it does, like, for example, one of the big criticisms is, oh, you take down all these great threads that could potentially have good content, but you leave up shitty things like fan art and all this other crap.
If you have an example of a thread that was going to provide great content, then I'd love to look at it, because
off the top of my head, I don't do Reddit.
Right, we do try and listen to feedback.
Right.
We definitely do.
And knowing you have that bot measure, obviously the bot's not going to go around and warn you guys of fan art, So that, to me makes a little bit more sense that things like that end up staying up, but things that are being linked all over the place and trying to start drama wouldn't be.
The bot does about 95% of the moderating for us. I spent a lot of time putting the backbone into this bot. It's very, very rule-based, so when you see the flares on all these posts, the bot does all that for you. So we don't have to go through and say here, okay, this is fan art, this is discussion.
Right. And users can categorize that themselves too. Yeah.
So because the bot does that, it makes our filter system even greater. Because now all of a sudden, if it's 6 o'clock in the morning and we're all asleep and you're browsing Reddit, you can still use your filters and not see all this shit you didn't want to, just because it hasn't, no one's got around to tagging it yet.
Right.
And I mean, the bot does a lot of the moderating for us. It will warn us when things are going bad. It'll tell us, hey, this is getting a lot of reports and a lot of attention. It basically is the best tool to go through all these posts because, personally, I don't know how the other mods do it, but I'll read through a thread once, and, if I read through it once, I'm probably not going to go read through it again. It's like, okay, is this comment new? I got to police this shit. And it's like, no, I don't really care. If shit's going bad and, really bad, people will send us a mod mail. The bot will warn us, hey, this is getting a lot of downvotes. You should probably check this out. Mm-hmm. So, it's not like I'm actively policing to oppress people and beat them with my mod sticks.
Right,
not how
right.
It works.
Well, is there a difference in the way that the mods can parse out or do parse out and I know that a lot of times this just comes down to personal discretion and personal feelings about whatever the discussion is. But is there a way to verifiably differentiate between what is considered a toxic conversation and what is considered a heated conversation that can also be productive? Because I think that one of the things that we do here at Limit Break Radio and that we really embrace is the idea that conversation, no matter how shitty it is, no matter how shitty the discussion is or how shitty the tone of whatever the message is, that the discussion that comes out of it is really the important thing and the driving factor. And at a place like Reddit and on places such as forums, there is I know that we when we were moderating our own forum at limitbreakradio.com, we would be very tuned into discussions that were heated and making sure that it didn't cross some kind of line. And we had gone to very great lengths to define what that line was. Do those definitions exist to you guys, or is that down to personal discretion of the mod?
It's personal discretion right now. That's definitely something, now that I'm hearing you say it, is probably something we should have in writing. We definitely try and put everything in writing that we possibly can, and we're going actually over rule revamping now. I don't know if you guys know, but we actually revamped our self-promotion rule due to Anero's feedback that we were stifling content creators.
That's interesting. How is the rule changed?
So the rule is not our rule.
Yeah, that's a Reddit. It's
a Reddit rule. You have to have, for every one post you make of your own promoting something you did, you need to have 9 posts elsewhere. That's the Reddit rule.
Oh, I didn't know that was the ratio.
That's the ratio, and it's a complete crap ratio, and everyone agrees it's crap.
Yeah.
And shortly after you came out with that letter thing, the CEO of Reddit was put on record as saying, "We hate this rule. We're going to change it. Stand by."
Oh, so you're saying that LBR changed the entirety of Reddit? Because that's what I'm hearing personally.
Well, coincidental timing. We'll just put it that way. So we basically heard the CEO say that, and we're like, we've always not really agreed with this rule. We just kind of had to do it because we don't feel like getting our community banned.
Right.
So we changed our rule, and now we're not doing a set, you have to post this much stuff or we're going to ban you.
Right.
So the way we changed the rule until the new official Reddit rule comes out is you're free to promote your stuff as long as you do other things other than promote just your own stuff. I don't care if it's 50% you, 50%, taking part in the community. But if you're going on there to just, okay, here's my video, here's my Twitter, my video.
Right.
Come on, that's stupid. The entire point behind Reddit is that I can see, oh, hey, LBR's pretty cool. I'm going to post this video to Reddit to show everyone I think it's cool.
Sure.
It's not for you as a content creator to go, I want more views, I want money, here's my stuff, gimme.
Right.
That's not the ideals behind Reddit. And Reddit does exist for you to help get yourself out there a little bit. If you're actively posting on other subreddits, you can go, hey, I made this thing. Is it cool? Do you like it? Give me feedback. And that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's the ideals behind Reddit.
All right, so I have a question for you then, because it's really easy with all that's happened to look back in hindsight and be able to say all this or looking forward. But let's take something, for instance, Joe Never was shadow banned. I don't know if that type of thing...
We had zero to do with that. Basically, this was actually... You're going to love this one. I can actually tell you what happened here. Guildwork users got really salty over the fact that he was posting his Friday night fights.
Really?
Come on.
Really? No.
So they reported
player
him to the
haters.
Reddit administration, and the Reddit administration banned him because he was actively engaging in. He did break the Reddit rules. I'm going to give him that. We warned him, and he didn't stop. He asked on his stream and his Twitter for upvotes, and that is the biggest no-no. And Blizzard employees have gotten banned from Reddit for doing this.
Okay.
So it's
Well,
not
that's
like
unfortunate
it's not
then.
like they're shafting the little man.
Well, because what I always about that particular instance was like, all right, in some cases, yes, like if we post a video or if Joe never posts a link to his thing, obviously that's giving him views. So that is quote unquote promotion. But at the same time, like his whole thing was he was trying to get more people involved in an event on his data center. And it's like, how do you go about bringing people into something that you're trying to give more publicity to without, just through collateral,
Especially
promoting
because
yourself?
The game was kind of like, we was in the lull before the patches, and he's like, people are bored, I'm going to give them something to do. I don't see that as so much self-promotion as much as like giving people something to do.
It would have been fine, but he was also including his stream link and asking people to upvote it. You can't really do that. You can't go asking for upvotes. You have to let the community hive mind decide how they're feeling that day.
I see that, but without the upvotes, people aren't going to see it, and then the event's going to fail. I feel like it's not so much saying like I want money.
Has to be in place, or else people like corporations like Coke is going to come in, post their Coca-Cola sponsored content, and the entire corporate structure of Coke is going to come upvote their thread.
No, and the Reddit. I mean, the Reddit rules do serve a really kind of important function, and especially like in the the really early days of Reddit, it very could have been, if they didn't have the self-promotion rule, it very well could have been only a vehicle for people to say, hey, check out my shit. I mean, it's like if you go to the podcast subreddit, that is the most boring, empty subreddit because it's only people posting their show, and who gives a shit about that? Like, and I get it. I totally understand why a lot of these rules exist. But I'm actually kind of curious, how did the information that Joe was asking for upvotes, like, was that actually typed into his post, or was he making?
I think that was in his VOD. Like they actually he had VOD proof of it. Happening.
Yeah,
because I couldn't actually watch the VOD because I was at work, and it's blocked at work.
Yeah, but you weren't responsible for actually banning him. So
no.
That's
all right. That's fair enough.
That's hard to hold you responsible for.
We had zero to do with it, and we actually worked with him to get his account reinstated, which it was.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, but one of the things that I think is kind of frustrating from like a content creator standpoint is that when you have rules that are like that like the no self-promotion rule, is that it's not just like the moderators and you guys using it as in an official capacity to lock or shut down threads, but it's actually like the rest of the community that can use that as sort of a cudgel and a reason to downvote things. And so I think as a content creator, when you go to Reddit and when you're trying to put your product out there, if you have a product that's sort of like just an entertainment-based product, that what you're looking for is feedback. And just getting downvotes or not getting any, just getting downvotes, no comments, or just getting comments about how it violates the rules of the subreddit, I mean, while I understand the function, it is kind of frustrating for a content creator to keep receiving that sort of thing because it's just an additional tool to be able to bludgeon or criticize their work unfairly instead of on the merits of their work itself. So, and that's just a personal feeling. And like I said, I do understand why the rules exist, but I think it does actually have an impact on a community like our FFXIV, which I think should kind of be like a cross section of what the whole community of Final Fantasy XIV should have to offer. And it just seems like there is a way greater there's a way greater pool of stuff like, requests for help or, like kind of the fluff, what you would consider fluff content. Right. And then, some of the other cooler things that exist in the community, sort of like music covers. And I'm not just saying podcasts just to be biased for me, but like, you know, like there's a ton of music covers that you know,
the greatest diversity of content could potentially come from the FFXI subreddit.
Yeah, and I think that just people's you know, like maybe experience of posting, you know, like they try to post something and they don't have a good experience, they don't come back, or, you know, like that whole experience that I just outlined, that was something that I had experienced when I had, you know, when we had first tried to bring Limit Break Radio back and we'd started trying to talk about it on Reddit. And so like I feel like, you know, like in those instances, that maybe, you know, and this is just a, you know, like a personal feeling and a personal criticism from me, that may be an instance for a mod to step in and say, hey, it's not really your place to say whether it's appropriate or not. And I mean, I called the idea baby modding in the past, and we've gone through this before and sort of like passively allowed that to happen instead of stepping in and being active and saying, no, you don't get to judge what's appropriate content.
Yes, that's something that actually I wanted to ask Yane about specifically, is your thoughts on baby modding, because you mentioned how, you know, there are some threads where it just gets way out of hand way too quickly, and in a lot of cases that I saw, it starts with people who think that it's okay to go in there and start being, oh, this is, you know, self-promotion, blah 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 blah. They start throwing down, and some people are tactful about it, some people aren't, and as a result that ends up creating flames. So when you come in here and you have actual valid content that's being completely ignored because of all the flaming, and when the actual mods come in and see it, they just see all the flaming and they remove the entire thing. And you're right, as a content creator, that is extremely frustrating, but even as a content consumer, you're missing out on so much at that point.
Right, because even if the mods passively allow the content because they recognize, oh, this person is an active member of our FFXIV outside of what they're posting, it just takes like 4 or 5 people from the community to come in and say, hey, you're self-promoting and that's not allowed, even though, you know, the mods are allowing it. So like, is there something that you guys do in instances like that, or?
So we actually have a rule that's no backseat modding, which is basically the baby modding. If you're not
that's
a moderator,
a good way to put it,
you're not allowed to dictate what is and what isn't allowed. And if we actually see these people doing that, we'll, you know, delete their posts, say, hey, you can't be doing this. And if they continue doing it, which in case we have a user who's notoriously bad at this, his name's like Yemd or something like that.
Why hasn't he been banned yet then?
Because he has been.
All right, I was gonna say, if
there's only so much that you can do.
If I could go
2 years, we've banned him about maybe 70 or 80 times.
Wow.
And I am not exaggerating. Because every time he gets banned, he makes a new account, and moderators have zero tools to ban people who.
We went through that.
Accounts.
We went through that. We know that.
People who have access to that are the Reddit admins.
Yeah.
And we have sent them countless messages about this guy. It's like, hey, this guy's made a new account again. He's made a new account again.
Jeez.
And a couple weeks later, he's made another account again. And it's hard to find him until he specifically starts doing this stuff again, because he'll lay low for a while.
Kala, we know all about
Oh my
this.
god, yeah. If I could send a message like us in the past and we had the LBR forum, I would be like, this person, just fucking ban them. Get it over with. Like, we even gave them like a second chance after being banned.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So, I mean, if we had the tools to take care of sock puppet accounts, we definitely would. But the Reddit tools that they give us moderators are very, very bare bones. We can't see if you have multiple accounts. We can't see if you're upvoting your own post twice. We can't see this. We can't see that. We can't see a lot of things. And going back to your thing about people posting negative feedback like that on like posts and stuff, the Reddit hive mind is very, very strong, and this is true for every subreddit.
That is true.
That if someone has, so we'll use LBR as an example. So you post LBR on Reddit, doesn't matter what subreddit, you post it there. Someone who's never heard of LBR before comes in, and they make a huge shit post about how terrible you guys are. Now, a bunch of other people are going to come in who've never heard of LBR, and they're going to see that first comment there that's talking about how terrible you guys are. The way Reddit works is that's now Reddit's opinion. Because that's the first thing they saw on something they had no opinion on before.
Right.
They want to fit in. So that's their opinion, and that's
you know what? That's fine.
And
Negative
I think that's
comments
okay.
are fine. Yeah, it's just when the baby modding happens. And for me, one of the reasons that happens is like a Nero and like a lot of people, like I understand the need for rules, right? But what you also have to realize is the reason you have mods isn't to necessarily enforce those rules, but to interpret those rules, all right? Back to Joe Never's content, all right? Had he not done the little upvoting thing or asked people for upvotes or blah, 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 if he had just posted and was like, hey, you know, I'm trying to get more attention drawn to this to increase PvP activity on our stream, you know, please, you know, think about, you know, queuing up on Friday nights or whatever it was.
Yeah.
There are a lot of baby mods that I think would see that and be like, nope, self-promotion, get the fuck out of here. But how else are you supposed to do that, you know?
Right.
Like that, to me, if I was in a mod position, that's something that would be allowed.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because the point isn't necessarily to promote yourself, but to help create awareness in the community
I thought
about
you meant
an
the
event.
baby modding being allowed. Yeah, no.
No,
Joe's posts are definitely allowed.
Yeah.
We've never. I removed one of them that created a shitstorm last week because we made I don't know if you saw it, but there's like 60 threads on the diadem, and it's like, this is why the DM's great. This is why the DM is bad. This is why the diadem is neutral, and it's like everyone wants to throw their opinion in. So it's like, fuck it. This is getting out of hand, it's flooding the subreddit, we'll make a mega thread. And right after I made this mega thread, Joe decided to make his opinions clear.
But his wasn't just a diadem opinion, it was an all of 3.1 opinion thread.
And in hindsight, we talked about it as mods. I admitted I was wrong, and we reapproved his post, and then it got downvoted to oblivion, so no one saw it. So it's kind of like, well, okay, whatever.
Idiots doing idiot things because they're idiots.
And you know, that is one thing. You had mentioned this on Eighth Right Radio, and I do want to go back and kind of go back over this, but mods don't have any control over what gets upvoted and downvoted, and that's a Reddit thing. That's totally fair. That's totally legit. And again, the negative the negative comments or critical comments, I think those are great. I think those are fine. What's frustrating is just having your content dismissed out of hand because it's not supposed to be there.
Right.
That's what and then a ton of people, like, you're not just like, maybe some people at that point will end up giving you feedback or whatever on your content that you posted, but it then starts this like kind of two-tiered debate.
It's the same way that the negative comments work. If someone comes in and sees a negative comment, they assume it sucks. So if they come in and say this doesn't belong here, they assume it doesn't belong here, and they just pile onto that monkey.
And this is definitely something I can take back to Mod Mail after we're done, and because we do have the rule there. It's just, I guess, not strictly enforced as much as it should be right now. Because, like I said, I typically read through things once, and then unless things start getting reported, which I'm going to come out and say, if you see things that break the rules, report them, because we go over those reports. Like, Reddit does give us tools to view everything that has a report on it, and we do go through that queue. So if you think someone's breaking one of our Reddit rules, report the post, and we will take care of it.
Good to know.
So
if you want to be a baby,
we're not omniscient. Omnipotent. We don't see everything. We don't know everything.
Right.
So if things are happening in these threads after we've read them, because I mean we're consumers of the content just like you are.
Right.
And I said this on Eighth Right Radio. Like, I don't mod to what I want to see on the subreddit, because if I did, there'd be nothing on the subreddit, because I don't care about your cat girl fan art. I don't care that you think A3 is too RNG because you suck at the game. I mean, I want to see endgame elitist type content that you get on BG, but BG exists for a reason, so I go to BG for that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, so if I modded Reddit to what I want, Reddit would be completely different. I moderate Reddit to what we as a group collectively decided the rules are.
Sure.
And people always, me specifically, try and claim I'm a bias mod, and that's not true at all. I mean, once upon a time, back in like 2012, I'd probably agree with you now that I did some shady shit, and specifically around the Titan drama. I don't know if you guys remember that at all. That happened back then.
Titan?
So in 2012, story time. We're going off on a little tangent here. We were streaming our Titan sales, Foldosaurus Rex.
Oh, I do. Now I remember this.
Okay.
The minute you said it, I remember this. Yeah, okay. All right.
So yeah, Foldosaurus Rex was streaming our Titan sales, and he didn't have his chat covered up. And we were joking around in our link shell chat about how we could, boost sales, boost our profits, because we realized on the Gilgamesh server, they were selling for like 3 times the price we were selling on Ultra. So we're like, okay, we're getting gypped here. We need to raise our price.
Right.
So we were talking about price fixing with other groups who were selling Titan, and that got people really salty. And then someone, not me, came out and said, hey, we should join Titan Pugs and sabotage them so they have to come buy from us. We all had a little bit of laugh about this, but someone watching Fold's stream saw this and posted it to Reddit.
Oh, okay.
Now it turned into Reddit mods sabotaging Titan runs when I wasn't even the one who said it in the first place. We were just kind of like, ha ha ha, that's funny.
It was a joke, you bitch!
Yeah, right.
So, and I handled that terribly. Like,
at least you can admit it. I mean, that's the thing is, as long as we can embrace our mistakes, I think,
So I handled it like I used to post on BG, where I told everyone they were stupid, and that does not go over well. I lost about 1,500 karma in the span of about a week.
Wow, that is pretty significant. Although, I do kind of want to, I do kind of want to mention, it does seem like sometimes criticism that's leveled at, maybe other communities or, somebody's video or something. When it's leveled at them, it kind of gets a pass. But if it's leveled at if that same level of passion and criticism is leveled at the subreddit and the way that it's moderated, that's quickly shut down, and that I think that creates a bad it's a bad visual for you guys in that anyone, it feels like anyone's kind of fair game except the mods themselves on Reddit. So is there a space that you guys have made for a meta discussion about the rules on Reddit, or for the users to, because that was the most interesting thing for me about seeing our video get posted to Reddit and then the ensuing conversation, is that it did seem to spark a lot of internal criticism, this was written way over the top, but there's some good points and there's some merit here, and I'm glad to hear that you guys are taking a lot of that feedback seriously. It's clear from me, in the time that we've been talking to you in our conversations on BG and through your conversations at Aetheryte Radio, that you are taking all of this feedback, very seriously and bringing it back to the mods. But was there a space that existed before that, or is that something that you'll maybe start being a little bit more receptive to?
After the cooldown period, I did make a meta thread about the whole drama thing. I think you even linked it on Twitter.
I may have,
where people could specifically come back and give their feedback about this entire situation.
Gotcha.
And the thing with all these feedback threads is whenever we try something interesting, people 50% agree with it and 50% disagree, because it's such a massive community.
Yeah.
It's impossible to get a high percentage of someone to agree on something. Back in 2014, we tried self posts only. We tried moving the downvote arrow, and oh god, that exploded.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
People hated that. But it worked, funny enough. The average number of upvotes was actually up. But people hated it so much that we're like, okay, well, they're vocal about it, we have to add it back. And that was that. So we do try things, and they usually blow up in our face because the vocal minority always wins and is always the loudest. But we do take feedback pretty seriously, and if people make their own meta threads about, hey, this is what I think the subreddit should do, you'll always notice either me or Rezef going into these threads and talking it out with people.
Okay. All right.
Specifically, whenever we change the subreddit theme, there's usually a lot of things that come up in that, and we're always really active. And people are like, "Hey, the color of the ball on the Moogle's too bright. Can you change it?"
That's legitimate because everyone knows that glamour is the true end game.
Exactly.
So yeah, I do want to spend just a second here before we wrap up to talk about the cross section of content that exists on Reddit, and we actually got an email about this. Kahlo, do you want to read this?
Of course I do.
Yeah,
resident email reader.
Also, by
the way, spoiler alert: it's definitely not from Nikki 7. So it's don't have to worry about that.
Just for my own personal curiosity, what did you think of my reading of Nikki 7's email?
Oh my gosh!
Eat a dick.
Actually, everyone in my static thought it was brilliant. They loved it. They loved the reading.
You can tell your static that I love all of them. Okay. All right. Hey, LBR crew. A bit late to the conversation about Reddit, but for after listening to episode 36 and 37, I felt compelled to do a visual study of the Reddit threads. Attached is my study of the types of threads that have been posted on our FFXIV from the main page, going as far back as it would let me. 978 threads total. All maps lie. Every map or infographic ever created only shows what the creator of the images focuses on. Think of a world map that shows geography versus a world map that shows country borders. Same world, but emphasis on different topics. So take this study with a grain of a Nero salt as it highlights... Ooh, they're actually using your name instead of salt.
That's funny.
That.
I like that.
Take it with a grain of a Nero as it highlights the categories defined by the FFXIV subreddit. When I got out of doing this study, and what you guys might get out of this study may be different, but the main issue I discovered is that it mixes a handful of good conversations with hundreds of screenshots, questions, and discussions that should be labeled fluff. Other than doing the study for myself, I hope you guys will find this interesting to look at the very least, as I spent well over 10 hours on this. Editor's note, Juxt uploaded a picture here. Sincerely...
You're not supposed to read the editor's note, you dumbass!
Sincerely, Ramina Garamond, Male Hyror, Dark Knight, rest in peace, Paladin.
Eat my dick!
Of Gilgamesh.
And I will put the... I'm going to go ahead and just put the visual study on the screen, and we're going to go ahead and send this to you, Iane, as well.
All right.
Because I think that this is a very interesting breakdown of information. It's very hard to read. I noticed that. What?
Really quick, that wasn't the end of the email. They have PSs.
Okay.
P.S. I found Limit Break Radio in a Reddit thread around June of this year and have been listening to the podcast ever since. I love the show and you guys. This is my first time writing in. P.S.S. Ramina is pronounced Remina, not Ramina. Whoops. Put that at the beginning of your email next time. P.S.S.S.S. Hi, Nika.
Hi.
Yeah, of the 978 posts of our FFXIV, and I like at the top, it does have a small typo. It says RXXFIV. Anyway, the discussion, there were 358 discussion posts, making up of about 36.6 of all of the posts. The next would be questions with 337 posts, making up 34% of all of the posts. Screenshots in next at 135 posts with 13%. And then finally, we start getting down into media, which gets a measly 33 posts, only making up 3.4%. We've got mod posts, news, fan art, comedy, guides, and miscellaneous that all come in now down in the 2% and lower ranges.
Is the point of this study to counter the argument that all that you see is fluff posts on Reddit, and they're basically pointing out, look, the majority of the posts are actual legitimate discussions and questions?
Well, I mean, again, I think that what was nice is that this emailer left us to draw our own conclusions from the data. But what I find interesting is that, there is a substantial collection of discussion and questions, which, those can run the gamut from, those can run the gamut from anything between asking specifics about, end game events to how do I move my character in the world?
Yeah, because they said in the email themselves that the big issue was that what goes under discussion and question could easily be fluff if it's, how do I make a penis in my free company yard?
Right.
It's easily a question or a discussion.
Now hold on.
Which
that is very
falls
important.
Under fluff.
That is very important. That is a worthy
as
discussion.
Juxta said, glamour is the end game.
Glamour is the end game, right? Well, but
Juxta didn't say that today. Kahlo said that today, but Juxta has said it.
Bam! But I do think, I do think when you look at the spread of the what kind of content seems to be pooling at the top, it does seem to be a high degree of discussions, questions, and screenshots. And then, like I was saying earlier, and this is just my personal view, and maybe, and I'm entitled to be wrong, and you guys are entitled to run the subreddit any way you want. But I would think that there's a great opportunity here to be a cross section of the community, and it seems to me like there's way more going on in Final Fantasy XIV 2014 than 33 media posts and 11 guides.
Well,
you know,
how far back does this go? Because this certainly doesn't go back very far.
No, I think they
said 789 threads.
No, 978 is the farthest back.
But like time frame, time period.
Yeah,
it was a couple of weeks ago.
This did get sent to us a couple of weeks ago, and they said that.
Right, but I'm saying from a couple weeks ago, how far back from then?
It says, attached is my study of the types of threads that have been posted on our FFXIV from the main page, going as far back as it would let me. So,
I mean, if you're going through pages, eventually it's going to stop you. So, and like, unless I know the time frame of when the very last thread he checked was in this information, it's definitely useful. And I think that what stands out the most to me as a mod is that the guides is particularly low on there.
It really does seem very low because
I can guarantee you, if you go to the guides filter or search for guides, there's way more than 11 guides.
Sure.
So,
even
if I had to guess, I'd probably say this goes back maybe 3 or 4 months, maybe starting at the point where 3.0 started dying off.
Yeah, I would guess that maybe this was a cross section of time. Yeah, maybe just after 3.1 hit or just before even maybe. So
also,
the data may be a little bit.
It also doesn't show what was upvoted and downvoted. So I mean, when people say that you only see fan art and there's only, out of 1,000 posts, there's only 21 fan arts. Keep in mind that that 358 discussion could have been downvoted to hell, and all 21 of those cat girls could have been upvoted to hell.
Sure.
So I mean,
I actually think if the snapshot was taken at a bit more of an active time in the game in terms of content, that the spread of data would be a little bit different. But I mean, I did think that this was a really interesting email, and that the fact that someone put that much time and effort into doing a little bit of research on what does display on our FFXIV would be valuable, for you, Iane, to be able to take back to the mods over at Reddit. So I'm definitely going to pass this email along to you, and yeah, you guys can draw your own conclusions. But I thought it was just a very interesting cross section of what does actually make it there. So.
All right, yeah, definitely. I'll definitely post this out to a mod post and see what we can get from this.
Interesting. All right, well, I think this has been a really interesting and productive conversation.
Now, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to post it to our website because LBR has very strict rules against self-promotion.
But no, I really do. Iane, I really do want to thank you for your time this afternoon, and I think that like we both on both sides of the fence that we've been able to get a little bit of a better context on how Reddit runs its community, and we really do appreciate you for that point of view.
And I think everybody involved, that saw how big of dicks we can be on both BG and Reddit, and now hearing us here in this interview, understand that underneath those big giant colossal dicks is only kind of dicks.
And that's the other thing is and I do want to commend you, Iane, in our conversation on Reddit. You definitely, or I'm sorry, not on Reddit, on Blue Garter, you definitely were able to identify that a lot of what we do here at Limit Break Radio is to get attention. I think in general, it's not just the thing about Reddit, right? Like self-promotion in general these days is kind of frowned upon. People look at it and they're like, ugh, it doesn't get much of a response, right? Like when we push stuff on Facebook, nobody's really that interested in it. And it's really hard as a content creator to get people's attention. And, I think that one of the things that we learned doing the FF11 show is that playing it safe with your show doesn't get it a whole lot of attention. You do think you blow things up to comedic or entertaining effects, and way more people actually because they're entertained by it or because they want to see some epic flame out or whatever it is, they latch onto it, and that becomes I don't remember who identified the term, but it was like dramatizing, like, you know, putting drama and advertising together. And it's kind of true. Like, that's the kind of game that you have to play as like a content creator these days, where you're like, all right, well, what can I do that's going to get the most attention? And sometimes it's being a fucking asshole.
Sometimes it's making a red Starbucks cup.
Well, you're not wrong there.
I took my cheap shots on BG. I mean, I admit that much. I mean, I have fun in drama as much as everyone else.
Yeah, it is fun. That's
I've been on
the
BG
thing.
how long? Like, since 2005 or something like that now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been on BG a long time. I've been part of these genre threads, and they're fun. I mean, sometimes the fun goes down a little bit when everyone's piling on you, but at the same time, you know, you have to take some hits, you have to give some hits.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's all in fun, and I never really had a problem with your show. I'm not lying when I said I had never actually heard of you guys before this drama started. So, when coming into this is like, who the hell are these guys?
That's
just
the
coming
point.
out of left field with a fucking kick to the back of my head like I'm Ronda Rousey.
And that's but that's the thing is that sort of accentuates my point, is that, you know, you've been very active in FF11 and FF14 obviously for, you know, years and years and years, and you had never heard of us, and we've been around for 10 fucking years making our noise.
Right. Despite how this went down, like, you know, this ended up like we came out winners either way, because our traffic has spiked huge.
Yeah, we did. We saw a nice spike in traffic, and the thing is that, you know, like, a lot of people were like, yeah, but people are going to hear this and hate your show. Okay, that's fine. That's great. They heard it though.
Yeah,
they were, you know, like, there was an equal.
But you have heard of them.
There was an equal chance that you would have heard my show if I was pandering to you, and you would have liked it and hated it. You know, like, there was an equal chance that people would have done the same thing. So fuck it.
The other option was you never hear.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You definitely do.
Exactly.
I mean, and when you read that letter, you definitely didn't know that this guy would turn out to be a sociopath. So I mean,
yeah, no, and that's and again, we, you know, like, we don't vet the people who email the show. We don't vet the people who
someone
call
in
in.
Chat says, so they did this just for self-promotion and attention, rather than because they care about the issues. Well, I guess I can't speak to the rest of my hosts, but yeah. For me, this is all about getting bitches and money, okay? That's all it's ever been.
No, there was definitely some legitimate criticism in there too. But I mean, a lot of people took us to task and were like, they shouldn't have read the email. That was irresponsible.
I mean, what people need to realize is that everyone with a public face plays a character.
Yes.
Almost everyone with a public face is never going to be who they actually are.
That is
myself
true.
And myself included. I mean,
Check out all these zany characters.
I play very PC on Reddit, but I'd like to think I'm as much of an asshole as anyone else. I'm a complete dick, and I'll admit that. But when it comes to my position on Reddit and what I do, I need to play nice, and I will continue to play nice because we're trying to be all-inclusive, and that's what Reddit is.
That's your job. I'm using air quotes, but that's your job. Yeah. We get it. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Iane, for the time today. And I think that this was a valuable discussion. We both, everyone learned a lot, I think, today. We thank you for your time. It's been a very interesting conversation.
Before I go, I just want to say, if anyone has any constructive feedback, please feel free to make a meta post on the subreddit and post your feedback. It's definitely welcome. If you don't want it public facing, you're more than welcome to send us a mod mail, and we will definitely read it and get back to you.
And I think what we're going to do is we'll highlight this conversation, and we'll go ahead and post it over on Reddit, and
that's sure to spark some discussion.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see what kind of discussion it generates, and I'll make this promise. I will stay very tuned in and plugged into the discussion that goes on in that thread, including criticism and discussion about Limit Break Radio. So if in this kerfuffle there have been Reddit folks that have wanted to give me the riot act for whatever, go for it. I'll be happy to address that. Now, as we all saw on BG, I'm not one to shy away from this stuff. I really love engaging on this stuff. So and again, I do think a really valuable conversation has come out of it, and it's making, I think it's just the conversation in general makes the community better, and we all benefit from it. So again, Iane, thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
CDT Eurosport in the chat says, what the fuck? I wanted more yelling. Well, strap in, because this ride ain't over yet.
Well, if you'd like to give us a call and let us know about what you think about out Reddit. If you have any criticism or criticism for Limit Break Radio, feel free to call the show. You can do that by sending a Skype message to the Skype account Limit Break Radio, or give us a call 810-515-8715. We'll definitely be happy to continue to talk about this or anything related to 3.1 that you may want to talk about. Let's take a second here, and there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. We had talked very briefly on the last episode about the diadem and about its place in the FF14 content structure, and so I kind of wanted to go back to this because we didn't. I think we started in an interesting conversation, and I don't think that it's continued. I think it has continued. The dialogue is continuing,
and we've all got to have a lot more hands-on experience with it.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to revisit this. Now, a week later, you guys have had a chance to sit on it. You heard my defense of the system last week. Some of the things I'd like to roll back is that, okay, the system could be deeper. No, it's really not. It is what it is. You've got the objectives, and then you've got killing mobs. But people are now, finding out what the best method to organize people is to be able to get the most loot out of it. And so that's becoming, something that's sussed out in, within the event. And I'm just curious how, if your guys' feelings or sentiments about the event have evolved at all in the last week or so. And also, we'd like to get you in on the conversation as well. Send a Skype message over to Limit Break Radio, or give us a call 810-515-8715.
Why don't we start with Juxta, because he'll be done pretty quick. I don't think his opinion has changed much, though. What do you think about the diadem now, Juxta?
I think it's a large waste of development time that should have been a lot more deeper than what it is, and it should have actually changed the game, and it really hasn't, and just basically is fates in the sky.
Do you have any hope for it?
How so? Like, hope that it'll change? Or?
All right, well, take a look at it this way, okay? You said that you hope that it changes the game, okay? But I'm not really sure how adding one thing is going to really, at the very start of it, flip the entire game on its head and really change things up, because I think it has major potential to be able to change things up, okay? And the way that I see that is, now that we have the diadem, right, the way that most events that have been put into the game work is they're relevant at launch, and then they slowly kind of start to use their relevance, and then when the next patch comes out, that's it. It's no longer relevant. But with something like the diadem, you can add more maps, you can add more locations that going forward with every patch, they don't really have to work on anything else. They don't have to add any new things. All they have to do is increase the stats or the item level on the new gear in the new map zone, and that could then start working as our supplementary supplementary gears. And basically what this ends up being, and I mentioned in the last show, this is the first step towards horizontal progression.
Sure.
And that is a huge change in the game, and it's not something going forward you have to put a lot of development time into.
That sounds like a cop-out. When you said have hopes for it going in the future, what I was thinking is that this, where you just go in and spam one island for loot, is just the beginning, and it's just kind of like getting us...
That is my second point, Nika.
It's just getting us like used to the idea of the diadem, and then from here on out, the objectives are going to be more things like find this NM or hunt for this thing.
That's
something that's different than just spamming for an hour and a half on the same island.
Yes,
that's a really good point, Nika. I like that.
God damn it, you motherfuckers, mute Juxta. That's the second point that I was getting to, is going forward, they, like this first one, it's getting people used to the idea, but going forward, they can introduce special pop conditions, killing X amount of this, chaining these together to get certain things, dropping even certain gear, or finding ways to influence what stats show up onto your gear.
Right, exactly.
It's possible that if all of that dropped at once, it would have been like either way too much for them to handle or just way too overwhelming for the players. So I'm hoping that that's what that is, and that this is just an intro, and that from here on out, they're not just going to add a new zone with another island to do the same exact thing for a higher island.
Because here's
that would be boring as fuck.
Because here's the thing that you have to consider: they either have to expand the system to support newer gear, because at the point that we get 3.2, there's going to be a new tier of gear. It's going to push eye level forward, and either they're going to have to have the gear coming out of Diadem keep up in some way, like they did with hunts,
right?
Having the upgrade items be able to be purchasable with more allied seals, or they're going to have to develop an entirely new system that's going to put out loot to be able to fill that gap.
And why do that when you have a perfectly good palette canvas to do that on already?
Exactly.
And you're right, Nika. I think that introducing it, because it's an entirely new thing, like this kind of play style hasn't been seen in FF14, unless you count Fates. Fine.
Okay, but that's all. That's all it is that it's just fucking Fates.
I can't.
Yeah, what are you saying?
Because what I'm thinking.
What? Speak up.
And because it's so new and it's so different, except for Fates, it's something that they wanted to test out.
Right. And as much as I hated Abyssia and what it did to FF11, when I think about going into Abyssia, you as a group had to decide: are we going to spend the entire time frame in here like XPing, or are we going to go after the NMs? And you couldn't do both.
Right.
So I kind of feel like that this system lends to something like that, where you can go in there and just hunt for gear. Sure, that's great. Or you can go in and like get these pop items to farm for this big NM to drop some, something
well, you
out.
know what? Fuck you. Do that from the fucking start.
Hang on, why?
Why not? They did it with fucking Final Fantasy 11.
This is just the first tier of gear. If you're going to be putting more gear that comes out of there, you're going to they need to be able to expand the system somehow. If we don't know, we have no idea whether or not we're going to get new maps. I don't think we will. I don't think we will get additional Diadem maps. I think that zone is big enough that it can support. I mean, already it supports 72 people?
Yeah, 72.
And so we know that it can support parties doing multiple things. It can support an entire alliance farming, farming on Dino Island or Triceratops Island, and then another party can be fucking off doing an entirely different thing if they wanted to do NMs.
Yeah, Jux, I think you're putting way too much faith in the player base, because had they came out with an event of the scale that we're talking about, something akin to what we had in FF11, people would be complaining that it's too complicated.
Yeah.
They can't figure it out. Yeah. We would have had a fucking Steps of Faith all over again. It's better to start small. It's better to start small and take your data that's coming in and find out exactly what the people want and adjust it accordingly, because they are more likely to change it going forward than they are to roll it back.
I disagree because this is like you're like catering to the fucking terrible people that can't do Steps of Faith. Make it fucking hard from the onset and be like, this is what it's going to be.
But this is also
and then have fucking Alexander Savage again, where barely anybody does it.
Terrible people. Stop listening to them.
Keep in mind, this is the catch-up patch, though. So I feel like this is the patch where everyone gets to 210 because the next patch, the eye level's going forward. So I feel like introducing it right now as simply a way to catch up is a great introduction, so that now when the eye level rises, they can add something harder.
And that was one of the points of this whole idea. Wasn't just that it's another Alexander Savage where if you're not good enough you don't get to do it. This is something that everybody can join in on, and as it goes forward, the exclusivity of it will then start to come out, and there will be certain people that won't be able to progress on to 220, 240, 250 because it does start to get harder and more complex, so the casuals will be left in the dust.
You can't introduce Abyssia before you introduce Dynamis. FF11, if you had put Abyssia in the game before Dynamis, no one would have known what the fuck, because all of the endgame events that you had in 11 basically prepped you for the next shit that you're going to be doing. It all kind of built off the same thing. If you're going from the ground up, you can't overwhelm people like that.
Gotta walk before you can run, bro.
Here's the thing is that the diadem does serve a really important function in that it provides this, like I had said, it provides this inherently different way of playing outside of, yes, Fates, but there's people interacted with Fates on such a small level and on such a minor level compared to what the devs really wanted it to be. Think about each time they put in new Fates. Nobody fucking does them. Nobody cares about them. Okay, so yeah, it does mimic that play style a little bit, but the thing is that it also mimics shit in other MMOs that is grindy and a little bit boring. Nika, how much time did you stand around waiting for Ground Kings to pop? How much time? No, seriously.
Don't even make me think about that.
Okay, all right. Why did you do that?
Because, well, a couple of different reasons, actually. The biggest reason being if I didn't show up, they would dock me points on my DKP.
Why was it so important?
It was so important because, there's many reasons. One is you actually needed the entire, you needed your entire league.
Nico, we're looking for one answer for you. That's gear.
No, two is because it was the best.
Gear, please. Just say gear.
Okay, no,
just
two
say gear.
is because it was the best gear in the game forever. Like, it never got outclassed, ever. Like, no matter how long, like, I don't know how the game is now, but, like, the black belt, I don't know. That
you got a
literally was
defending
the
ring,
best
GG.
forever.
Why did people do Dynamis in FF11? Because of the gear. Why are people going to do Diadem? Because of the gear. Yes, it's a little bit boring. Yes, it's a little bit grindy. Yes, it's very repetitive. But it isn't a dungeon where you have to have your brain plugged into it and paying attention every second of that dungeon.
Juxta, Nizul Isle and Salvage, both great events, right? Imagine they gave nothing. Would you do them? Because they were fun. They were fucking fun.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, well,
the
make the random grindy gear be something that I will have fun doing. Because in 2-3 weeks, we're not going to be saying, oh, I can't wait to go online and do Diadem hard.
No. Who logged on saying, I can't wait to do Dynamis? I'm so excited to do Dynamis.
I did if it was a certain kind of Dynamis. It depended on which one.
It took you 4 times doing Dynamis before you were like, really? I have to do this shit for how fucking long? No. Honestly.
And that's why you don't have Dynamis again. I mean,
Juxta.
Square Enix can learn from their mistakes, which is Dynamis.
Tons of people did Dynamis.
What's cool about Diadem so far, though, is that, like, the gear that you don't want, instead of it just hitting the floor, like, did you look and see that all the materia you can get? Like, you can easily get grade 5 materia, and I guarantee you when the next set of relic shit comes out, you're going to need all this grade 5 materia.
Well, yeah, he's not arguing that, though. What he's arguing is that the event itself is boring. Which,
it definitely
this is all I have to say to you, Juxta. When we go home tonight, Netflix and Diadem?
It's definitely boring, but it has potential, and I feel like all of us right now are throwing all of this hope and just watch it not actually.
Yeah, and so and like I was also saying the last episode, what's cool about this event, because you're right, it is boring, but it also doesn't require all of your brain power, so it's very easy to do Diadem and also distract yourself with something else. I like the whole randomization to it, the whole aspect of, oh, what's dropping now, right? But at the same fucking time, I'm doing other stuff. I'm playing Fallout, I'm on Facebook, I'm watching Netflix, because you're right, it's fucking boring as shit. But going forward, it can evolve.
Okay, well, it should have been what it can evolve to today, because we're not in 2000 anymore. I mean, this is 2015. Like, we should have engaging events, but we have a caller on the line who called in. So,
all right.
Caller, what's your name?
Hey, it's me. Remember?
Oh my God!
It's been a couple weeks.
I swear I saved your number here.
It's been like a month
Burner
or two
phone.
since I last talked.
Yeah.
It seemed like just yesterday you were here, Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Hey.
How you?
Just so you know about the whole Epic Beth thing, if I could donate, I'd probably be Campanero.
Oh, well.
You know what? Drop his call. Drop his call. You have the power.
I have a punishment for Nika, though.
Oh, boy.
I have
What's that?
a suitable punishment.
Okay.
I think
you have my interest.
I think for 2 whole weeks, Nika should grow out her body hair.
Dude, in the winter, I do that anyway. It's cold, and who do I need to impress?
Learning a little too much about Nika today.
I also think it's good that you reached the big 4-0 episode.
Thank you. Thanks, Robert. We appreciate that.
Robert, I have a question for you. I want to ask a few questions. I'm pretty sure the last time we talked, you said you have started playing Final Fantasy XIV. Are you still subscribed? Are you still playing?
Well, I couldn't afford to get the recurring subscription, so I had to. So I kind of been trying to make money to pay for it.
Okay, all right.
But you do have the game.
I'm stuck at like level 7 or 8.
Oh, all right.
I got to like level 7 or 8 Lalafell, and then my subscription ran out.
All right. Well, now I have to know, why are you on Campanero? He's kind of a dick.
Oh, come on. Who doesn't like a Nero?
That's
all right.
right.
Well, you hear that, LB Army? Robert from New York is officially Campanero. So if you're one of those people who for some reason doesn't like Robert
the guy who yells a lot.
well, we all do our fair share of yelling. But if you are one of those people that are always wondering why we put Robert on the show and you want to really stick it to a Nero, donate to Camp Juxta. We have girls.
Hey, you want to know something else?
I guess.
I feel like, and this is my only complaint with Final Fantasy XIV.
That you're not playing.
My only complaint with it is I feel like there should be more player choice involved. Like, it should be more player choice based.
Okay.
Like, the decision should affect what happens in the events in the game. It's kind of like what they did with Life is Strange.
Sounds like you want to play Knights of the Old Republic.
I was gonna say the Star Wars ones do that.
Yeah, I think they do.
Go grab yourself a Bethesda game.
That's not Bethesda.
No, but they do that too.
Okay. All right, Robert. Yeah, more player choice. Sure. Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, Robert, we have also recently instituted a rule on time limits for calls so we can keep things speedy.
Yeah.
And your time is unfortunately up. We hope to hear from you again soon.
It's good to hear from you. We
were getting worried. To be honest.
We were starting to get concerned. We hadn't heard from you in a couple of weeks. So, yeah. Okay, all right. I guess that's it.
All right.
I guess we're done
Thank
with
you
Robert.
again for your call, Robert.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Robbie.
All right. Well, that was a train wreck. So,
okay, well, I'm glad I took that call.
Yeah.
Good fucking job.
I should have known after he called 4 times.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I mean, 4 times, like at 10, I'd have got suspicious.
That could have been Joe.
That could have been Joe.
All right. Well, thanks, Robert. Thanks for that. And where were we? We were talking. What were we?
The
talking?
diadem.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
yes,
Juxta is dumb.
Yeah,
No, fuck you guys.
He's right, but also seems to have. Juxta's correct. He seems to be the biggest pessimist out of our group.
He does. He does have a legitimate point. It is boring, but it also has potential. And we were briefly talking before the show too about it. And one of your main criticisms was, okay, when have they ever changed anything before? Right? That's valid. You're right. But up until this event, would you have ever thought we would get something like this?
It does seem like an event that is expandable.
It's easily expandable, and it's not anything that you have to change anything inherently.
Yeah, we haven't really had any events that were expandable.
Just throw new islands in there.
Not even just throw new islands. I mean, just throw new objectives on islands that already exist. I mean, we've got the bunch of items that you have to collect and stuff like that. We've got item vendors that already exist in the zone. It just feels like you have an opportunity to just place a couple of, like even randomize where the question marks are going to be, make somebody trade the spawn instead of having to hit the tracks to spawn the NM. And then that way you're actually, like, there's an actual system and then there's progression. And that's what I would like to see, is I would like to see just beyond the 1-star NMs
and
in
that's
there.
The other thing you have to realize too is going forward, they're not just going to be adding in new gear. They also have to increase the difficulty of the monsters. So eventually 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, and if the only mechanic in here is kill stuff until things spawn, you don't think eventually when we have 5 stars that it's going to be, killing rank 4s, 5s, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, that's going to get tedious and long? They're going to have to introduce new mechanics to this area if they want to increase its longevity.
I really sincerely,
it's essential.
Yes. I really sincerely hope that's.
Don't you roll your fucking eyes at me.
I really hope that's going to be
dumbass.
Oh, okay.
I really hope
is Robert trying to call back?
He might be.
Oh God. Again, if you'd like to call Limit Break Radio, send us a Skype message, Limit Break Radio, or 810-515-8715 if you're using a regular old phone. But yeah, like that's I think that there's an opportunity to expand on the system. What I don't want to see is I don't want them to just introduce a whole new set of islands with the same set of rules and the same set of mob mechanics.
Increase eye level. Yeah.
I would like to see new islands.
Oh, sure.
Right.
That's
because you remember it was originally stated that you had to discover these islands through your airship, which right now we don't see any relevance in using your own airship. Right.
Right.
So They have to add more.
Here's what I think would be appropriate. I think at 3.2, if they added some more NMs, some more objectives to do up in the diadem that we have, right? If they start there and then they add the ability for new areas to be charted, so people are charting in preparation for 3.3, and then at 3.3 they introduce a new zone, new islands, and we go back to that sort of farmy, spammy style thing for the new islands, and then at 3.4 we get the NMs.
Okay, guys. Put on your tinfoil hats.
Okay. All right.
Now, this isn't going to happen. This is giving them way too much credit. So, Juxta, yes, I already know that this is a pipe dream, right? But imagine as we're exploring more of the diadem, right? We start opening more of these islands up. Eventually, we come across some type of tribe or civilization up there, right? And now when you go into the diadem, because remember, they mentioned earlier on that you would be able to go to certain islands and you would be able to see that parties have been here before. They've affected the environment. They fucked shit up.
They
right?
did say something like
so
that.
Imagine, imagine coming across this kind of civilization or this clan or something that lives up there, and they're hostile, of course, right? So instead of just going and finding islands where we randomly fight mobs, now we go to islands where there's actually like structures and stuff, and so you're actually like destroying like bases and houses and turrets and things like that, and actually raiding these villages as you're fighting these mobs to get loot.
That would be cool. I don't see it happening.
No, I don't see it happening either.
Not even hope.
But that would be cool.
No, I mean something like that maybe for 4.0, but it sounds like an entirely different system from what we have. I mean, I'm just thinking of like easy ways that they could expand on what they already have and not make it too terribly complex. And I think that that's a good way to do it. You'd still have to find an island, find the where the triple question mark is on that island, clear the mobs out before you could spawn the thing, and then you've got to deal with the repops. I mean, it just makes sense. Like that to me sounds like a classic MMO event. And like what I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. What they have here is good. If they build upon it, that's going to be even better. If they don't, it's okay because it's filled enough voids that we needed in terms of gear progression and the way that gear operates, that it's defensible and people will do it for the gear.
The most amount of fun I had in Diadem was during the Tuesday reset when we got queued into that complete empty Diadem.
Yeah,
we actually had to like try and be aware of our surroundings.
That was fun.
And thanks to everyone who was in our party, we like got aggro from multiple ads
but that was so much fun though.
Right,
it was fun. That was
can
fun.
we blame the majority of the aggro on Skuro?
Oh sure.
It was Nikki's semen too. 7.
Oh.
But no, like Jesus.
But nice slip there.
Well, whatever. But no, like if they made it so random parties can't get like claim on a mob that someone else is fighting. So like your mob is your mob. That would be interesting because then it'd just be your party going through this big area and trying to find your little slice of this giant sky world. And that would be interesting because it'd actually be hard because you only have the 8 people to help you out.
But again, like in the first week, all of the parties congregated to one area on Dino Island. They just killed everything.
Because there's no reason not to.
Well, but and when I did hard mode last night, there was a reason not to because you weren't getting credit for everything. All of those NMs, those stars that were getting popped, you just weren't getting fucking credit for a lot of those, and fuck getting gold star or gold chest credit. We weren't getting any credit, and so I think that is another aspect that people are still feeling out is what's the distribution of parties supposed to be? Like how many people is too many people before people start getting fucked out of loot? And a lot of people were saying that they really need to change the DPS attribution, and I don't know that they do. I mean, I'm not totally sure that they do. Like, yes, it was frustrating not getting loot last night, but I think that that's part of the meta game is you got to go, okay, you got to organize a little bit with the people in there and go, not all 72 people can be at one spot just beating the shit out of everything.
What was your party setup?
We went in with 2 pre-mades and we went into hard. So, yeah. I don't remember what the people were.
Because maybe you just didn't have enough DPS in your party.
No, I don't think that was it.
Okay.
I don't think that was it. So, and it was fun. Don't get me wrong. Going in there with a bunch of people was fun, and being on Vent, that was cool too. And I guess the thing that I just like is that it gives free company messages a function now, because you can say, hey, we're doing Diadem on Saturday nights. Remember how FF11 used to be, where you could log on and you see, oh, this is what is happening when, and join if you want. I loved that idea, and there's nothing in this game that lends itself to that, because it's all limited to 8 people, and nobody is running fucking Crystal Tower or Void Ark as a group like that. Like, just legitimately no one's fucking doing that. So I think that it's a nice option for larger FCs, and it gives them something to do. And again, I think people will stay plugged into it because the gear is good, the rewards are good, and that was an important thing that Square Enix get right out of that, and I think they definitely did. And breaking up the gear structure too is also a really good idea. So
we also have a caller calling in, Visenya Bun of Coral, wanting to talk about the Diadem hard mode.
What's up, Visenya?
Hello, how are you?
Welcome to Limit Break Radio.
Hello. So I've been doing Diadem a lot lately. I actually really like it, but I hate hard mode. Hard mode is actually worse than normal mode.
Okay, so explain why. Because I noticed some differences in there last night, but I'm curious to know, since you've done way more, what you think.
I think it's worse because you don't have the random element with tracks anymore, and it gets really annoying whenever you're constantly popping star ranks instead of having the opportunity to pop rank 5s. I mean, at least they could have added like 2 stars in there. So it's like, well, we can pop a 1-star mob, but what if we pop a 2-star mob? And then it's, oh shit, oh my god.
Right.
But no, there's no random element in it anymore. Hard mode's less fun.
That's true. Although, it does spawn different mobs each time. So, I mean, what you're going to be fighting isn't definitely predetermined. We were getting what was it was like the bull-like thing that knocks you back. I don't remember what it's called. And then we also got the Brachiosaur a couple of times, and
so in hard mode,
they're all stars, but they don't spawn necessarily.
Well, also, I haven't been able to do hard mode yet. So when you kill in normal mode, it's when you kill the 5 or the 4-star, there would be a chance of tracks spawning, right? In hard mode, is it like tracks always drop or something, or is it still is that still random?
Yeah,
or does it drop more often, and when people aren't paying attention, everybody clicks on tracks, and then you have like 5-star mobs up at once, and like people freaking out?
I think she's saying there aren't tracks to click. The stars will just pop up when they're ready to pop.
It's actually a little bit more challenging to get tracks. We were not getting tracks.
We're all wrong. Let her talk. Yeah, go ahead.
No, the tracks spawn still, and I think the drop rate's the same. I haven't really noticed anything different, but the mobs don't seem to have any visible health or damage buffs, and it gets really annoying whenever you have more people in hard mode who are fighting a star rank that you popped and you don't get the loot for it because somebody tagged it first, and it happens constantly. I've run several normal mode diadems where I've gotten like 10 NMs to drop a gold chest, and in hard mode I can rarely get like 4 or 5 because everybody's killing them so fast.
That's a good. You know what? That's a good point.
So what's supposed to be the draw of hard mode then?
Well, I think
they're all higher ranks, so there's a higher spawn chance of the gold chest spawning.
Right, and I think part of the meta in here is that not again in normal mode. I think it's normal for everyone in the zone to be in the same area. They're all beating up on the same thing. But in hard mode, I think they're trying to encourage you to split off and not act as a 72-person pack.
Right,
and that attribution is a big part of that.
Well, let me ask you this though, because it sounds like you get the same rewards from hard as you do normal, right? So the idea of going into hard is that you get more chests, okay?
Yes.
But if you're splitting off even on your own, I feel like going into normal and splitting off on your own, you have the same firepower, but you can kill monsters faster. And like she said, 10 chests in normal, and how many did you end up getting when you're in hard mode?
5 at most.
Did you try moving? Like, did you try organizing a couple of other parties to move to a different area, or was it all 72 people beating up on the same thing?
It was all 72 people beating up on the same thing. They act like it's normal mode, but people in the chat are saying that there are 2 to 3 star mobs, or there should be, but we don't know the spawn conditions yet, and that's true.
Okay.
But there's a NPC at the little base that you go to that tells you that during the night, scarier monsters come out, and I'm wondering if you pop fresh tracks in a certain area during nighttime, during certain weather conditions, if it'll pop 2 to 3 star mobs.
I do know
slightly
that would
deeper
be
than
cool.
we think.
I do know that there has been some discussion about weather conditions, because there is the
or phases of the moon.
No.
But there is that same type of weather that appears up in Azus Law, as well as in Zenith. That is like, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like
it's like that ethereal wind or whatever.
Exactly. Yes, and that also does make an appearance, and I think that there's been testing done about, does that have an impact on the system? So that's the other thing that I was driving at, is that doing hard mode, it does seem like there's stuff that we don't have figured out about this yet, and that it is slightly deeper than we think. And so, like the fact that people aren't getting the loot out of it that they want, or at the rate that they want, I think that is in its own way telling you, hey, you're not doing the right thing.
That makes sense, because to me it seems like if you have a really solid, really strong like ace group, that you would be able to farm more gold chests in normal mode, splitting off by yourself, because the mobs die so quicker and you're such a well-oiled machine, compared to going off on your own, even in hard mode, and doing yourself.
Yeah, and I think that this is going to take some time for people to really suss out, and I think that that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Now, could they, will they add more? I hope they will. I sincerely hope they will end up adding more. Pop, I think, again, going back to the idea of pop items, I think would be a good thing, and they've got those vendors in there, so, those seem underutilized. So.
One idea that my FC had that we were talking about is the idea of other zones, and not sticking specifically to Abalathia's spine, but instead moving to other areas. It would be cool to go to Azus Law and like chart Azus Law and fight primals that the Alligans were experimenting on, and have them have mechanics that are actually difficult to deal with. Because right now the only difficult star rank there is the Brachiosaur, and that's just annoying. It's not hard, it's just annoying.
It is.
Meteor doesn't even one shot.
No, that's really is what I think that most people's complaint is that it's not hard, it's just annoying. And I get that. And the fact that Square Enix said that the diadem was going to be hard, I don't think that they delivered on that. And I don't know. We'll see. Do you have any hope that they're going to expand the system, that they're going to do something more with it?
Oh, I definitely have hope. I just don't know if it's going to come to fruition at any point with Square Enix, but...
Yeah, it's always tough to tell.
I hope.
All right, well, thank you very much for the call. You got any shout-outs you want to share?
Yes, I said my guild's name wrong last time I was on here.
Oh, shame.
And I got shit for it. Advocates of Honor
Advocates
on Coral,
of Honor.
sir.
All right.
Yeah. And hi, Nika.
Well, shout out to Advocates of Honor. Thank you very much for that call. And I do think
she spoke very well. There wasn't like any stutters or pauses or anything like that.
I know. We should hire her for the show.
Right? Maybe you could take a page out of her book.
Right? Yeah, I know. No, I very good points there about the diadem. If you have any thoughts about the diadem, normal, hard, whatever you want, give us a call. Send a Skype message to Limit Break Radio, or call 810-515-8715. What do you guys think about the materia rewards that you can get with the points?
I haven't actually looked specifically at what they're offering besides like normal materia. Is there anything new to it?
No, but you can get the level 5.
Yeah, that's absolutely cool, especially considering that they mentioned that going forward they want to put materia slots on all kinds of stuff, including ESO
right.
gear.
They did say in 3.2 they're changing the way that materia works, and you can't overmeld like certain types of stats anymore.
Right.
And that like they're going to add materia slots to different
I
gear.
think for me, after this whole diadem stuff, what it does is it shows that Yoshi P and the development team is still willing, even if it's just baby steps at first, to take steps in new directions, to try new things. All right. So
they did say that they're going to try new things.
Yes,
they've been saying that. So
I mean, it's hoping beyond hope. But going forward, what I'd like to see next is stuff that allows true customization amongst individual classes. Okay. For example, let's take the new relic weapons. All right. Obviously, the old ones allowed a certain level of customization when you could put stats on them. But when it came right down to
still
it,
a BIS.
when you came right down to it, you put on the stats that you needed the most. So really, it was simulated. What's the word that I'm looking for?
Difficulty?
Choice.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, you had a choice, but did you really? Not if you didn't want to get laughed out of Eorzea.
Illusion of choice.
The illusion of choice.
The illusion of
Sorry,
choice.
that's what I was looking for. Right. So what I would like to see going forward, especially with the relic weapons, is there to be choices of how to power these up, what to add to it, beyond just stats. So we've said it before, we've talked about it many, many times, but I would like to see them start introducing the augmentation of traits or abilities.
I think, but if you're going to do that, you got to work towards it. You got to work towards it. And
absolutely.
The first step of that, and I think the way that you suggested in the past, Kahlo, that it be done through materia, which I thought was a great suggestion. Yes. And I actually think that having another way that you can get materia and just having it literally be an output of materia, I think that that's a pretty good indication that they're going to look to change up how materia functions, and that might be just the first step in it, and I think that could be something that we're working towards.
Not to mention, I mean, obviously the system in itself has been lacking since the launch of 2.0.
Yes.
But, I mean, it's essentially gems, right? And I feel like giving it a name like Materia really gave it kind of a legacy to listen up to,
That's true, too.
To me, anyway, and not just because I'm an FF7 fanboy, but Materia was for me, one of the coolest customization options, within the FF community.
And to know that it's going to be playing a higher role in, coming up in 3.2 and beyond, that's great. I think that's great.
All the stuff that's in the game that really needs a revamp and really needs them to take a look at it, Materia is definitely amongst the top.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But the thing is that they could easily just make it a point where they start making gear have less stats on it, and you just have to fill it in with materia, which is going to bother me. What they do need to do is, you're right, they need to have more choice, and they can't have such hard DPS checks in the end game, or literally you'll be doing the exact same thing as everyone else again.
I think that's one of the reasons that they actually said, Anira, you said that they're looking to change up the materia system, because just putting more slots on everything, Nika's right. Basically, all you're going to be expected to do is put in whatever your primary stats are.
Right.
There's no fun to that. There's no real choice to that. And so, I don't want to get my hopes up too much.
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's
it would be really, really cool to start putting traits in there.
By the way, Harold Saxon in the chat asking, do you think that they should have not bothered at all with Lords of Vermilion and put time into Diadem? Yeah, I think so. Maybe not necessarily time into Diadem, but Joe never called us a couple of weeks ago talking about this. Yeah, Lords of Vermilion was just a really worthless addition.
If they're going to come up with mini games like that, if they have a team that actually works on player versus player type of content, they should put their time into the real PvP rather than a minion PvP.
Now, hold on, because obviously mini games work. I mean, Triple Triad was a phenomenal success, okay?
Right.
But it also has very minimal mechanics. So I think the idea of Lords of Vermilion, like that whole thing is cool. I think that there is a niche market out there for it.
Oh, but this was not the time for it.
Not just that. Like time's fine. I don't think they needed to put quite as much complexity into it as they did, because now that it's I don't know, probably gonna flop. Based on general consensus, I feel like it was a lot of wasted development time, because it kind of flopped. And had it just been like what Triple Triad was, which, obviously a lot more went
Triple Triad
into
is
Lords
simple.
of Vermilion than into Triple Triad.
Yeah.
Had it flopped, you didn't waste as much as you now have putting into it.
Right. Yeah,
the reason that Triple Triad is such a success is not only is it fairly simple, but it's also pick up and go, right? You can be almost anywhere. You can just teleport in somewhere, play with a friend, play with an NPC, call it good.
You don't have to go somewhere.
Lords of Vermilion, you have to go to the Gold Saucer. You have to spend X amount of time memorizing the stats, learning all of this stuff, figuring out strategy, then all this, and it takes up so much time. Whereas Triple Triad, I can play a few games while I'm queuing or whatever. You can't do that while playing Lords of Vermilion. So it's not something that appeals to a player base of a game like this.
I like Ryan's chat. Wolves Den is more popular than LOV. Yeah, that might very well be true.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah, it is pretty sad. I don't think that they should have spent any time on Lords of Verminion right now. Like, they should have really sat on that and waited until a point like between 3.0 and 4.0. I think people may have been a little bit more interested in it because they would have been a little bit more forgiving of that downtime. I think that the reason people are so critical and harping on LOV so much is that they're
that could have been our relic weapons.
They're saying like, look, we had such a massive downtime. I mean, I get that you guys needed a break and that the break was a much more of a contributing factor to the downtime than any of the actual content that's being developed. But like, you had an opportunity with 3.0 and subsequently 3.1 to really make an impression on anyone that you picked up with Heavensward. And I just don't think that they did. I think that they really shat the bed with anyone who is interested that they picked up from Heavensward, that they didn't hold on through this content cycle, and that they're probably not going to hold on looking for the next one. It's only the diehards like us that, have been playing for so long.
Just want to make a note. Diehards means because we are so passionate, we love the game.
Not hardcore.
We are not calling ourselves hardcore players.
Right.
And I'm so sad that we have to specify that.
Right?
Well, see, me specifically, because I claimed on a previous show that if you find a clip of us claiming to be hardcore, I'll delete my character. So I'm watching out for me.
But because, I mean, we are, again, yeah, you're right. We're not hardcore, but we are very dedicated. We're dedicated to this game. We've played, I've played it all the way through 1.0. Nika played it all the way through 1.0, all the way to the end. I mean, if we're going to stick to this game.
Killed marmots.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
If we're going to stick, we're going to stick through this game no matter what, and not just because of the show, but because we genuinely love the game. But for anyone that they picked up at the point of Heavensward, I just don't see it. Like, someone who picked it up in passing, all of those tons of talented people that were streaming it on a regular basis, none of those people are even an iota of plugged into what's going on anymore. And that's sad. I'm really bummed out by that because they really did have an opportunity. If they had really set themselves out with 3. I think it. With the 0.1 patches, you got to be on top of your shit.
I'd like to point out something in chat. Shady Grove 14 says, face it, the game is giving people more content and diversity in gameplay than any other MMO out there. And that's not true. That's not true. Lords of Verminion, it's been done before.
Sure.
World of Warcraft did it, and sorry, they did it better. It was more fun. It was less complicated.
Stop.
What?
Stop. Those are two completely different games. The World of Warcraft thing is Pokemon. This is an RTS. They're completely different.
They both include battling minions.
But they're mini games. But again,
the point is, WoW is already known, and to me, it's one of the downfalls of it, of trying to put a lot more diversity in the game. It's one of the reasons that I left is I felt like I wasn't able to
see. But I don't see Lords of Verminion as diversity in content.
That's an opinion.
Yeah, it is an opinion. That is my opinion. But I don't see it as a diversity in content because it's still a mini game. It's a side thing. You're not adding the
and you know why?
The actual content that people want.
Incentives.
Well, there is Lords of Verminion gave me a special trait augmenting thing that I could then apply to my character. That would be fine.
Actually, yeah.
What I was
even
saying
better
about
titles, more glamour, mounts, pets, just anything more than one pet.
There's literally
one
nothing.
Minion, yeah. There's one minion.
Oh, one minion.
I think the Twin Tanya minion. I think.
Oh yes, man!
All right, guys,
I mean, and that's why things like what was it in ESO, the PvP system works because then you can buy abilities only from PvP points that you can then use in the outside world. So I feel like if something like Lords of Verminion or the PvP in our game gave us something like that, that would be incentive enough to do it.
And then you would be bitching about then you have to do Lords of Verminion to be correct.
I don't know.
I don't think so. Because remember, I said I definitely think the game's fun. It's just really complicated and too much time for me to learn for no reward.
I think it depends. Like, how much time would you have to spend devoting to Lords of Verminion to get the thing? I think if it's a reasonable, if 2 weeks casually and I could probably get it, okay, yeah, that's probably fair. But, someone could poop socket in a couple of days, fine. That's probably fair. But I mean, you make that thing that comes out of it, you've got to do 30 jillion Lords of Verminion.
1,000 wins.
Yeah, that's
to be
insane.
Number one on the tournament.
Yeah, it's got to be reasonable. So I mean, but the thing is that if you did that, there's going to be a handful of people that really decide that they like Lords of Verminion and continue doing it. I don't think that there's some people out there that would really like Lords of Verminion that will never ever even touch it or try it because they just think it's a waste of time.
If the MGP payout was really high, I would do it too, simply because I'm spending so much MGP on trying to get triple triad cards that I would love a bigger way to get MGP.
What cards are you trying to get now that you're spending MGP on?
Zidane.
Oh wow, poor you. I was gonna say I bought like 3 or 4 packs of Mithril, and I have all of them already.
Zidane doesn't come from Mithril.
No, I know. I already got Zidane from Gold months ago, but I've
never had to buy a Mithril because I have all of those cards.
Oh yeah, I think I did probably notice. Do all of those cards already come from someplace else?
Yeah, I think so. There's not any that are Mithril specific.
Okay,
the only new one is Pippin, and he also drops from Swift and Ul'dah.
Okay,
but
well I got
the biggest
Pippin
thing that's
Bart's
making me sad is that I have probably spent over $1 million MGP. I could have bought the Cloud card and maybe the Fenrir too, and I still have not gotten Zidane.
That is hilarious.
It is extremely sad.
That's
I've spent so much MGP. So honestly, if Lords of Verminion gave me enough of a payout that it gave me a much quicker MGP payout than anything I can do now,
okay, well,
I would probably even play it for that.
As interesting as Nika's terrible luck with triple triad
Segue to a caller.
We definitely have another person wanting to call in about the diadem. Skrull calling in, and make it quick. We got like 8 people trying to call in.
All right, Skrull, what do you have to say?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, so like, there's some things that like I feel like haven't really been pointed out, like specifically around chests.
All right.
I mean, even just like opening chests and gives you kind of hate to build towards popping star NMs. So if you're doing like, say, like, you know, walking around, you see like a hidden chest, it'll actually add to that. As well as even just doing gathering. I mean, that's already adding to your hate to actually be able to pop those things.
Now, are you referring to the messages you get where it's like you sense a foreboding presence around, blah 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 blah, or whatever?
Yeah, exactly.
So that builds party hate?
I think what he's saying is whenever you kill a monster, it builds that hate towards the present. If you open a chest,
spawning attracts.
Yeah. So the more things you kill, obviously, but the more chests you open or the more things you mine or objectives you do, all help to pop those things faster. That's interesting.
Yeah, see, I did that. That's something I definitely didn't know. But, you know, what most people, I think, would say to that is that, but Square Enix says that the system's not calculated on how much enmity you're generating. It's calculated on how much DPS you're generating. So, you know.
Well, hold on. I think those are two different things.
What he's saying is it's kind of like a fake, like, digital presence enmity. It's not like real enmity. It's like saying the more shit you do, the more likely you are to spawn.
Okay. Yeah, he may be poor word choicing confused people. So yeah, basically what he's saying is every mob you kill brings you closer to spawning something. Every time you open a chest, it brings you closer to spawning something.
I getcha.
So it's a lot like Abyssialites, where you have to gather them up in order to get like basically the benefits. So like say getting more time extensions, but it resets every time you pop a track.
Okay.
So it's going to reset back to, basically having no hate. And the more you're killing mobs, you'll notice like that, there's an entity, drawing nearby or immediately on top of you. Like those things are going to be generated based on you opening chests, gathering, and as well as killing mobs.
Yeah, see, that was what I was kind of wondering is there underpinning stuff to this system that the system is not telling us about? Abyssea was really straightforward. It would tell you your lights. You'd be able to track them. You'd be able to monitor what was going on.
Already with this information going forward, they could make it to where, as you're building this, I don't like the word hate that we're calling it, but whatever.
The presence.
This presence. As you're building this presence, right? Whatever the presence is comprised of, be it opening chests, or maybe the majority of it is killing something, or mining stuff up, that determines which of the star monsters spawn. Now, obviously, because they all just drop random gear, it doesn't really matter, but going forward, that's something that could be changed to introduce a new kind of element to it.
And that can also lend to what I was saying with how you would have to choose if you wanted to farm for gear or choose if you wanted to do more of the NM focused things, because if you're building all this presence and then popping a 1-star mob is going to erase it, you're going to purposefully not pop the tracks in order to have a higher chance of spawning something rarer, and that would be your entire alliance's focus. So that would be something you'd have to come to a decision as an alliance to like attack that specific objective.
That's definitely an interesting point. What else? Did we miss anything else, Skuro?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like a lot of people are just kind of, shortcutting things and being like, oh, well, this is going to be just, basic hunts in the sky. But I mean, like, look how long it took for us to figure out Abyssea. I mean, it took like at least a solid month. And I get that it's a little more in depth, but it's still, you can kind of see the breadcrumbs of this becoming like a bigger system.
Yeah, and I think
that's so much potential.
I think that's sort of the crux of Kahlo and I's argument, is that it seems like it does. There's breadcrumbs. I like that term. There's breadcrumbs of what could be a bigger system at work, even right now. Like you said, Juxta. When we got Abyssia, we got all of the stuff at once, and I've been saying, especially since last week, is that we don't actually know for sure what we have. People are still experimenting and playing around with it. They think they know what they have, but we don't truly
that's the other thing. Because this is the first kind of event like this in FF14, people aren't used to having to look for these kinds of things.
Right. Yeah, Square Enix has been, they've always told us exactly what they want out of it, and maybe there is stuff that is at work that we just don't recognize yet. I think that's entirely possible. Was there anything else?
I think that's pretty much it. I mean, there's like a few other little things, but I mean,
no, we ain't got time for them. 8 callers. Give your shout outs, girl.
All right, Kahlo. All right, no, I'm good.
Okay.
All right, later, Skrull.
Thanks, Skrull. Yeah, thanks.
That was actually thank you, Skrull. That was a really good call.
No, that was productive.
Yeah.
And surprising.
And if you can just act like that all the time, that'd be really cool.
Again, like I do think that sort of lends some credibility that there either is or could be in the future something a little bit.
Has he ever been on the show before?
Yeah, he called in and asked a question on Stump LBR.
I feel like I expected more mouth breathing.
I think he's called before that too. So
yeah.
But anyway, okay. So let's move on a little bit from the diadem, and I really quick. I just kind of want to talk to you guys. We're going to be getting 3.15 probably within the next couple of maybe 2 months, somewhere in there. I don't want to like make any promises.
You don't want to rush them or anything. Right. Pressure the dev team.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, but I kind of wanted to ask you guys, we know that we're going to be getting new relic quests out of there. What do you guys predict we'll have to do? Because we've got most of the content that, we're going to have to choose from, or we're going to have to grind what the devs have to choose from to task us to do. What do you guys see being involved with doing the new relics?
Well, here's the problem that's inherent in the system. Obviously, they're going to want to try and change it up, right? Which everybody wants new stuff. Juxta especially wants new, fun, exciting things.
Yes.
But at the same time, they're not going to abandon the way that they like to recycle content to keep it relevant. You don't want dungeons to start dying down. You don't want fates to start dying down, hunts to start dying down. You have to find ways to bring people back into these to help keep it healthy, which is what they did in 1 or 2.0, and obviously it was successful. It obviously got boring, but it did bring people back to Fates. It did put people back into those dungeons that no one was running before.
Right.
I foresee that happening. I don't really foresee any kinds of changes to that system to make it different, though.
What was okay? So when we got the first round of relics, they set us out killing the primals, and we only had the normal versions of the fights, so none of the extremes were ever included in any of the tasks that we had to do. So and primals at that time, if you remember, everyone was getting kind of stuck on Titan Hard.
They were still new and exciting, too.
Yeah, they were new and exciting. People were getting stuck and burnt out on Titan Hard, and so they stopped trying to clear that stuff. And now we actually have a greater wealth of old 2.0 content that they could send us back to as well.
You think so?
That's possible. So what is the content spread that we have right now that you think Square Enix would be the most likely to want to redirect us back towards?
I can 100% guarantee you we're going to have to meld a million materia again. Simply because the datum has increased spirit bonding, and you have a way to turn in gear for materia. 100% there will be a bullshit materia thing, but this time they're hoping the backlash won't be as huge because you have other options other than Gil to get them.
Precedented now.
Yeah, and I think that'll probably be a step down the line, but what do you guys think the first real challenge is going to be? Like, out of the gate at 3.5, what are they going to task us to do?
3.15?
Yeah, 3.15, sorry.
You mentioned having them send us back and do old content, so I'm wondering if you expect one of our answers to be Coil. having to go back and do something in there.
Oh gosh, they're saying like coil atma, like when you have to do coil and hope to get a drop when you exit coil.
Here's my thing though. Not at a meta perspective, but like our characters in the game, coil isn't something that you would do over and over again. Obviously it's one cohesive storyline, and you go in, you defeat it, and that's it, right? All the stuff that we had to do for the 2.0 relic weapons, redoing dungeons or primals, there's reasons, or there's actual there's a reality to it. The primals are constantly being summoned back, so having to fight them over and over again, it makes sense. Or even going back and redoing a dungeon, if you clear pirates out, it makes sense that they would reinvest the place, right? I don't know if this is something that's intentional or not, but based on that, I don't see them maybe sending us back to redo coil, but it's also possible that they could.
Coil Atma, I don't as much as people are
coil Atma.
As much as people are joking about that. Nika, you and I and Juxta all ran through turns 1 through 5 in a night because we were bored on the stream.
Right.
And think how easy that was.
Okay, now hold on, but
you
that
were
was
also unsynced.
Yeah, unsynced. Yeah. So
do you think that for the new relic stuff you'll be able to unsync everything?
If they're sending us back to do old stuff, you better fucking be able to. Because think about it. The first, in terms of like some of the steps that they provided with the first relic weapon, you were doing really, really simple stuff over and over and over again.
Here's why they wouldn't do that. Hold on, because going back and doing fates was to help reinvigorate them, so the lower level people aren't doing them all by themselves, right?
True.
So if they're going to send you back to do coil, but let you do it unsynced, how is that recycling it and giving people who are still leveling up or going through that content? How does that serve to reinvigorate that content?
It doesn't, but anyone who was struggling to get through coil in 2.0...
You can just carry them through now.
Yeah.
Why would you, though? Like if you're going to go through for... Let's say we're all like, all right, let's go through coil for our Atmas, right? The 4 of us can do it. There's absolutely no reason for us to go and shout and be like, hey, who wants to come through coil? We're going to do it for our Atmas. There might be some people who do.
Yeah.
But in most cases, I don't think that
I think
that
most people would queue,
at it.
most people at this point, you
think they'd queue up for it?
Well, when you queue, you can't do it unsynced. So that's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't think that. But I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I actually don't know. But I think that given the difficulty challenge that exists in the first 5 turns of coil, that's something that you could easily make spammable. Like if the dev said, look, you got to grind this shit over and over again to be able to get your your shit, and it's going to be annoying, then it would what purpose would that serve? It would serve for the people who never did coil to be able to get through coil in a fashion.
True.
I think that's what it would serve, and that would be the redirection. I don't know if that's what they're going to do.
I also don't think we're going to have a real challenge at 3.15.
No.
I think 3.15 is going to be just random bullshit.
But especially because they're going to let previous relic owners skip over the first step, and they said it wouldn't be a significant advantage.
Right. And the other thing is that but think back to in 2.1 when they did the relics there. Again, you had to do all of the primals, which was a challenge for a certain portion of the community at that time, right? So it served as a way
Lords of Verminion Atma.
It served as a way for Square Enix to direct the player base into what they needed from the player base. And that seemed to be the trend throughout the whole process, right? Like, okay, people aren't doing fates enough, let's make them do fates again. Okay, people aren't doing these lower level dungeons and they're only queuing for the roulettes, let's force them to go back through the dungeons again.
Honestly, the more we talk about it, I don't think there's going to be much change or ingenuity involved in doing the new relic quest. I think we're going to see a lot of the same things. They might reskin them, rename them in some way, but I think, for me at least, the biggest thing that I'd like to see out of the relic quest is I would like to see more compelling narrative.
The last one was boring.
At least it got... at first it was kind of lighthearted, it was funny, but it was the same thing each time. And, Geralt and whatever, Jalina, whatever the fuck his name is, that whole thing was cute. I'd like it to be more epic, and I would like it
More
to be
about
more
the
on
weapon
point.
and-
more about the weapon
And the person who held it before.
Give us more little like solo private duties. Really, like I said, when it comes to doing the actual trial things, I don't think they're going to be anything new. So make me want to do them.
My question to Square Enix is, why would you think that making the storyline attached to the big epic weapon in your game an appropriate place to put some some
Especially
humor?
when what we love so much about FF11's idea of the relics was the unique NPCs and the background and the lore that it brought to the game.
This is
and just
supposed to-
knowing that like there was these epic warriors that had these weapons and were like finding them, and that person's ghost would speak to you, and you would have all this background story that we are severely lacking in this game.
You know what else it needed? It needed one unique fight. Just one. At some point, somewhere, one unique fight attached to the relic.
I think the
quest.
final fight to get it should have been a unique.
Yeah, I
instance.
agree. I totally
You mean
agree.
unique per weapon, right?
Yes.
Or unique to that line of quest.
What was
You mean like
Chimera
I
and
think it should
Hydra?
be.
Those were just for the
Oh,
relics.
that's true. They were.
Yeah, you're right. They
No,
were.
I think at
But
the
they
very
weren't
last,
memorable.
the
They
very
weren't
last-
memorable. They were very early on too.
They
should have been.
holdovers from 1.0.
They were,
They
Chimera
were
was so
holdovers. Yeah, you're
memorable.
right. You're right.
Just because it was so like when Chimera first came out, it was so hard.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, hold on. Now, there may have been memorable fights, because I'm pretty sure on the one where I got my item and a bunch of you came with me, we had actually killed it with like 2 survivors.
Right.
So we got ejected and all of our people were dead, and someone's like, lol, wipe again. And we're like, no, we beat it. Like, what?
Yeah. No, but the thing, those were great fights, but like they were so early on in the line, like that should have been something that you saved for the end, where it was like, yeah, I beat Chimera
And you know
I
what?
got my shit.
Based on a lot of the stuff that they've been doing in the 3.0 storyline, especially with fights like where you got to run through Holly Tolly with Yagiri,
Right,
or the
yes.
ending of the 3.1 patch storyline with all
Exactly.
the other characters.
Yep.
I think, and I hope that we can look forward to more cool stuff like that.
I hope
That's
so
why
too.
I think each weapon should have its own quest, especially if they do give us more lore and backstory. Maybe its own quest or battle instance system where you get to have a unique NPC fight with you. That's
If you
not.
want to pour a bunch of development time into something, don't put it into Lords of Verminion. Take that time giving each class its own unique storyline and background and lore for their relic weapon. Make them really feel like that's part of them.
I really hope that 3.15 is going to feel like substantially more meaty than other 0.5 patches.
More poignant.
Yeah, because like really, I don't know how Square Enix could look at what they've been doing in the last couple of months and go, yeah, we definitely didn't drop the ball. They definitely did. And again, I'm going to say this. I said this earlier in the show, and I'm going to say it again. The 0.1 patches are where you really need to shine, because people are picking up, they've picked up on the hype from the expansion,
From the
and
launch.
and of course you got to deliver at the expansion. All good, great companies know that, but the 0.1 expansion, you cannot let the momentum fall, because I feel like the momentum fell, and it fell even below points where it was at like 2.5. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like people.
It's the only time that I ever actually stopped, like, just playing the game.
Like, I feel like people did everything that 3.1 had to offer in a week, and now we're back at populations that are around where we were at between 3.5 and
now we're just waiting around for the next
2.5 and 3.0.
next patch.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I knew that's what it was going to be. I guarantee you can go back to old shows and you can hear me say it. Like, I'm already bored by the 3.1 stuff, and I want to know what's coming in 3.2. And I was saying that as we had like 6 weeks staring down at 3.1, and it's true. Like, 3.1 was a very lackluster patch. It has not been received very well by the community. Diadem has received mixed reactions. Lords of Verminion is getting slammed.
And Diadem is really what they expect us to do going forward.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I really feel like they have put themselves into a corner, and that they've really got to knock it out of the park with 3.2.
We have Satori on the line wanting to talk about some of the relic ideas.
Satori and Baby on the line. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Not bad, Satori. Thanks for calling the show.
Nah, but I want to talk to you about what else would you expect out of 3.1?
What else?
They added the same stuff that they've added in 2.3. They've added the same stuff that was 2.5. You know, we got new stuff to do hunts for. People are grinding that Void Arc, this and that.
We talked last time how we had last time in 2.1 they gave us PvP, they gave us like an extra dungeon, they gave us like 4 more primals than we got this time.
Yeah.
Well,
they gave, it's a lot less.
It's not even about like the number of content they've given us. Like if you were to list it out, it's also
about Hildebrand.
Shut up, Juxta. It's also about how long this is going to sate the population. Okay, there wasn't really any new gear added. Okay, so basically between this patch and the next patch, what you're going to want to do is do hunts to upgrade to 210, do diadem to upgrade to 210, and that's it. Like at this point, you should have all of your ESO gear already, and as long as you just do one run of Void Arc a week, you're going to have your 210 gear in no time.
Right.
And like Juxta said, as much as I like the idea of the diadem, it is a boring thing. And how long are you going to expect people to just sit there and grind that out?
Dude, people did Dynamis for a long fucking time.
That gear was going to be relevant for more than just one patch.
Gear was relevant for more than 2
In
months.
3 or 4 weeks, in 3 or 4 weeks, people are going to be bored of what the game has to offer. Yes, there's still stuff to do. Leveling new jobs, crafting, whatever. Yes, there will always be stuff to do, but there's nothing of substance that is really sustaining the integrity
interest,
or the interest of the game. There's nothing there to keep people that only have like a passing interest. I have a friend, Coltrane, who's came back to the game many times, and he doesn't even make it through the story. And the story is obviously extremely compelling,
right? And
he doesn't even make it through the story before he's back to World of Warcraft or he's back to playing his Xbox One or something. Ugh. Yes, obviously the hardcore. I'm sorry. The diehard players.
There you go.
Okay, the people who have a real passion for this game are going to keep playing because they'll find something to do. That's what they do. This is their hobby. They're going to log on. They're going to level their crafts. They're going to level their alt jobs. They're going to run with friends. They're playing just for the fun of it. Hell, they'll do fucking Lords of Verminion. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
But a big substantial number of people that you constantly see rising and falling is going to fall off a lot quicker than it has in previous patches because there isn't as much substance to this content.
And the thing is that, for as much as people want to say, like, look, your bread is buttered by your casuals, your bread is buttered by your hardcore, that's not true. A lot of that middle ground, a lot of what your income is coming from is people who have a passing interest in the game and, but they feel compelled to continue playing.
And these are
11 was great about that. There were points where I wasn't playing 11 that I felt like I'm really missing out by not being logged on right now. And 14 doesn't have that.
These are the people that when they're done playing, they're going to unsubscribe for a few months, okay?
Right.
They're not like us who's like, we can't unsubscribe because then our veteran warrants are going to get backed up, okay? There are tons and tons of people out there who will play for a little bit, unsubscribe, and wait for the next big thing to come. And if you had more substance in your content, they would stick around longer.
Yes, that is true. Now, Satori, I know that you play all the time, and you're a very dedicated player. And you had said at the beginning of your call, like I don't know what you guys expect. How did you feel about what we got with 3.1? Like how did you feel the content was?
Well, first of all, I don't give a fuck about whether we get 2 or 3 dungeons. As far as I know, if I go to Space Mountain in Disneyland, I ride it once, it doesn't make me feel any different. There's 3 different kinds of Space Mountains or 3 different kinds of roller coasters.
I will give you that.
Yeah, sure.
Secondly, I feel like the gear progression got a lot better.
Yes, I agree. Yep. I will agree with that.
Because the new Extreme Primal, or quote-unquote Primal, isn't dead on arrival.
Yeah, that's true.
Because like Shiva
dead on arrival. Yep, you're right.
I'm level 110. Ramu, I'm level 100.
Yep.
Now at least there's a point, because without beating Alexander Savage, and those raiders have their prize. They have their mount, and they have their 210 weapon, because you can't get a 210 weapon anywhere else.
That's true. No, I
205 weapon, you get progression, you might be able to finally, clear that wall that is A3S, A4S, and now we're looking towards 2.15, which will give us our relic weapon, which I really think that they're going to hand out the Gob Dip with that. as a part of progression, because the weapons, the esoteric weapons, are the only weapons right now, besides the actual relic weapons, the Zodiac weapons,
right,
that have a job restriction.
Right. Well, and I do think that at the point that the relics come out, that's going to shoot Thoradin in the foot, and so it was a good addition to have Thoradin in between 3.1, 3.15. So I do think you're right, Satori, that the trend that we're starting to see with the gear progression is starting to get better. I think they're becoming a lot more sensitive to it and have a lot more of a plan to exist there. And also with the diadem gear, I also think that the idea of best in slot is going to become an antiquated idea, because there's just going to be so many different levels of customization that a player can have, where, and it's going to affect their potency and stuff like that now we're really going to start feeling the difference between someone who has a really good handle on how to stat out their character versus somebody who doesn't. And I think that's going to be a really interesting dynamic. Thank you very much, Satori, for the call. We really appreciate it. We got a bunch of other people hanging on the line, so unfortunately we can't continue to unpack that, but we really do appreciate the call. So,
and going forward, for all your other callers too, expect that we want to try to get through as many as we can.
Yeah.
So please try to get to your point ASAP.
Yeah, make sure that your point is right there at the top, and we're going to try to cycle through some more callers here. But we're reaching towards the end of the show, and so I think it's time to read some emails.
Kahlo's mailbag?
For Kahlo's mailbag. So why don't you go ahead, Kahlo, since you seems to inflate your ego so much to read emails.
Only when people tell me I'm good. Nobody thinks I am.
Keep telling them that he's good so that I don't have to do it anymore.
You never tell me I'm good.
No, I just want other people to tell you you're good so I don't have to do this shit anymore.
I don't ever expect you to.
Okay, good.
All right. Hello, LBR. I'm kind of a new listener, picking up since the FFXIV's worst episode and always trying to listen to you live whenever possible. Now, getting on to the topic of my email. I don't know the state of Duty Finder is in the Japanese servers regarding Skynemis, but right now I'm pretty saddened about it on the North American servers, at least on the Primal Data server. So let me elaborate. As we all know, once you enter the instance without a full group, the loot rules are locked to all greed. For this reason, I've seen many people, myself included, that try to make it a little civilized to roll for things people would want regarding the 210 stuff. You're coming as a healer but main bard? Roll for bard loot. You want to gear your black mage? Roll for caster gear. Don't need anything? Pass stuff for people that need the loot. For the most part, people agree with this. Heck, there are some people that will pass on every 210 stuff. They just want things to exchange for pirate coins. Everything would be pretty great, except there is always at least one person in the party that rolls on everything, regardless of the agreement we made with the rest of the party. These are the people that say, "Durr, it's DF. If I can greed, I will greed. Fuck you guys." When the guy hasn't even unlocked the class the gear is for. And to make things worse, you can't vote kick these people in Skynemis. Yes, we could greed on everything and watch the world burn, but is this what's best for the community? This is the stuff that won't let us foment a better community in which everyone can get better. Going back to Arthas's call, the kind of behavior is the reason I don't like doing DF stuff anymore. People entitled to whatever they like, not interested in their party members. Anyway, that was a good rant. Thanks for all the effort you put on the show. Lion Brunstud from the Excalibur server.
Thank you very much for that email, Lion.
Boy, do I have a story. This exact thing, again, came up before the show in our little pre-show powwow or whatnot. I was in DF the other day doing it, right? Second time I've done it. And for the most part, you're right. When people come in, I think most people are like, this is the job that I'm on. This is what I'm rolling for, blah, 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 blah. And most people will pass, okay? So went in last night with some people. 3 or 4 of us was like, I'm here for blah, blah, blah loot. I'll pass on the rest. Some people didn't say anything. The first 2 things that dropped were tank stuff. Now, I didn't pay attention to who rolled and who passed, but the tank ended up with both of those items. Then a really great piece of ninja gear dropped. Some people rolled, and the black mage got it. Okay, well, he wasn't anyone who said anything earlier, so the other ninja was like, okay, I guess we'll just roll on everything then, right? And then some of the other people started to get bent out of shape and started saying stuff like, oh, it's DF, just greed on whatever, that's just what happens, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? Here's the thing. That's fine. If you go in and you're going to roll on everything, you're going to put a greed on anything, that's fine. That actually doesn't make you a dick because you are well within your rights. You are well within the confines of the game to do that, okay?
Right.
What makes you a dick is when other people say, hey, let's do this, and you don't say anything, okay? If you're going to roll on everything, say you're going to roll on everything, all right? Now, this other dude, the guy who had actually rolled it, right, made some comment along the lines of like, oh, well, if I can equip it, I'm going to wear it, or I can use it, or something like that, right? Motherfucker had every single job at 60.
So it's well within his right. He could use it, so it's good that he rolled on it.
I mean, in most duty finder groups, I've made it my own priority that I will pass things I don't have at 60, but because it is a duty finder and there's always that one asshole, if I have it at 60, I greet it, because otherwise I'm not going to get shit, because greed is stupid. Like, seriously, I know how many 180 pieces dropped during the last diadem I did, and I rolled on every single one of them and ended up with, I ended up with 2 of them.
Yeah.
When me and Juxta went our first time, I think I had 8 or 9 pieces that I ended up with. He had like fucking 30.
Yeah, I ended up with like 15 of those. So.
There were tons of them.
You must be getting kind of close to in plates, like to the mount, the Pegasus.
I think I have 42, and that's off of 2 runs.
That's pretty good.
I'm at 19 out of 2 runs.
Yeah, no, I've done. I think I did the one with you. I did the one with Nika, and then I did a hard mode last night. And I'm like, I can buy a tier 5 materia if I wanted to. So yeah.
So for people out there,
I have 4 pirates.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice if everyone agreed to roll. Only roll greed on what you want. I'm actually surprised there's an evoke kit option in Skynimus. I didn't realize that. That sucks. Square Enix fixed that. But basically, the only thing that I can say is if you can get everyone or the majority of people in your party to agree on it, that's great. But if there's people keeping quiet, fucking be suspicious of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, especially when when we did it in Euro, there was like 4 people that were like, oh, I'm going to pass this for the tank. I'll pass for the tank.
Right.
And like everyone's like, oh, me too. And then there were still 2 or 3 other people that rolled. And I was like,
Yep. Yeah, that was a bummer. Whatever, it's fine. But I think that's kind of the inherent danger. Like I think that's just like what comes along with the territory.
Yeah, that's why they want to encourage you to do with a free company, and that's why there is a benefit. And this is the first content that makes you want to do things as a free company.
Right.
So that's why this exists. That's why
totally. Well, and I don't, ninja looting, that was the thing that used to happen and does not ever happen anymore. I just want to see drama threads prop up about it.
There's like no loot in this game worth drama threading.
That's true.
If you really wanted to see drama threads, we wouldn't have tried to patch everything up with Reddit. You fucking hypocrite.
Good point. No, but that discussion was way more interesting than any of the drama. I mean, the drama was great because it got a lot of people to pay attention to us.
Not to mention another show already capitalized on it. You're welcome.
That's also true.
All right, we got a caller on the line.
All right, let's go to the phone lines.
Mr. Gordor.
Hey, Gordor, what's going on?
Yo. Stop.
All right, yeah.
That's all right. It's old already. So I got a question.
All right, Gordor, fire away.
No, you cannot have my phone number. Stop asking.
I don't want it. Trust me. If I don't know if anyone's brought this up yet, but if we raise $2,500 for Nika, can we get both y'all bitches to lose?
Nika's already
maybe
camped
my own
Juxta.
separate camp.
Hashtag everyone loses. Team Nika. Team Nika is.
All right. This is what I have to say on that. If
Doomsday?
if you want everyone to lose, right? If you want us both to lose, then those amounts have to hit 2,500 at the same time. Good luck, fuckers.
No, we just need to raise $2,500 for Nika and say fuck both of y'all.
Nope, she's already on Camp Juxta.
Well, for now, that might change.
For now.
That might change if something like comes up that I don't want to participate in. I will pull myself right out of Camp Juxta.
Oh wow! Oh man,
Hey, she has already said that she will defect. So
it sounds.
It's a very unstable relationship we have right here.
Very tenuous.
Although I do think that would be a fun challenge to try to get Team Juxta and Team Nero at the same time to hit 2,500.
That would be we said if that happened, if somebody made that donation to like make it 2,500 even for both teams, that everyone loses. Both Juxta and I get the tattoo. Everyone shaves and Escalia waxes.
No, fuck that. Neither one of y'all bitches get the tattoo.
No, because getting the tattoo on the air is the funny thing.
Oh God, yeah, that's gonna be the worst show ever.
See, also, I should think that whoever gets the tattoo, the other one has to host a show while watching them get the tattoo.
No.
Everyone's gonna be here.
Everyone's gonna be here. The tattoo artist is gonna be here. They're gonna be in the studio giving the person the tattoo, and they've got to host while getting the tattoo.
You know, Nero, of all the things that you've ever pitched to do on the show, of all the stuff that you talk about background noise and feedback, and you're gonna have a tattoo gun running in the background.
Yep, it'll be annoying. I mean, that's the thing. Like,
we're all used to that because we listen to y'all every fucking week.
Hey, our audio quality is top
notch.
fucking notch.
We didn't say anything about the audio quality. It's just fucking annoying to hear you talk.
And yet here you are listening to the show.
It's just I
just wanted to call
the noise will be in the background, and yes, we've got a host through the pain, and that's the thing. I keep trying to explain to people, Juxta doesn't actually say that much on this show. All what he runs callers and does drops.
But what he does say
is golden.
Well, obviously, if he was getting the tattoo, we'd be throwing it over to him a lot more.
Of course. But the thing is that I've actually got to maintain the show's forward progress while going through severe bodily pain. I don't know. My pain tolerance, I would say, is a medium. It's not low. It's not terribly high. So, I mean, that's going to be a challenge for me to be able to maintain my professionalism and keep the show moving forward.
Professionalism.
While trying to, maintain,
vocal consistency.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I think that'll definitely be interesting. So again, if you're interested in knowing more about the bet, check out our last episode number 39, or head on over to youtube.com/Limit Break Radio. The clip exists there as well. So did you have a serious question, Gordo, or was that it?
He called to say that people like me more than you guys, that's all.
Yeah, pretty much.
She has tits. What do you expect?
Yeah, that's really not that spread. Anyway, all right, Gordo. Well, thanks for the call, man. It was great hearing from you.
Sorry, I don't have the tits for it.
There you go. So yeah, thank you very much for the call, and we're gonna try to get a couple of more callers here. I know that there's someone calling in by phone who I'd like to talk to. So the next time they call.
He just called in right now.
All right. So do we have him on the line?
Hey. This is. Hey, sorry, my TV's loud.
Hey.
This is Prince Claire from Gilgamesh.
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Going good.
Good. Glad that you could call into Limit Break Radio, Prince. Very good to hear from you. Now this is I gotta admit, Prince and I both know each other in real life. We've worked together in the past.
I'm sorry.
And
to him, of course.
And so it's exciting to have you on the show, man. I'm glad to finally have you on. We've talked about it in the past, like trying to get you here to the studio, and that might still happen. But thanks for calling in, dude.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad to be on. I just had a couple comments and questions about the game in general.
Fire away.
Well, first, I've noticed a lot of guys, and clearly, if you're listening to the show, you're at least a hardcore, I won't say hardcore, excuse me, a dedicated player of the game. But I think a lot of us kind of don't really pay attention to the fact that the hardcore and some of the dedicated players aren't going to be majority of subscribers. Majority of subscribers are going to be those people in the middle, the people who get in, play for an hour, do DF for a dungeon or two, and then cut it off and go do something else.
Right. Yep.
So a lot of the content in the game does cater to that. It's really built well for that. Now, for the rest of us, I think Vietnam is really good at, as one caller said earlier, breadcrumbs. Because one of the things about 11 that was wonderful is that, hey, if you had a core group of guys, I mean, this is before and all that other stuff. So that if you had a core group of people, you went on, you had your EXP party, and you could do that for 6 hours. And it took forever to level, sure, but it was fun. You talked, you pulled mobs, you had a blast. I think because the game's now and the entire model around a lot of MMOs have made people want to progress faster, that we've kind of lost a little bit of that. And I think the dev team really could work a little bit harder on kind of trying to foster those senses of community, not just within FCs and other groups and link shells, but through just the general, hey, let's get together and let's not grind our asses off for a minute. Let's actually just chill, get some EXP, perhaps even get to know each other, and then I think you'll see the player base begin to grow. And that was something, yeah.
I definitely think that there's something to that because in all of the in the entirety of 2.0, we saw Square Enix only incentivizing people to play in 4 or 8 player groups. That's really it. And so there wasn't, you're right, there was like this sort of reinforcement about how we're supposed to be getting gear and how that gear is supposed to progress our character. And so now that we have something like the diadem that kind of breaks that up and sort of shakes that up a little bit, which is something we've been asking for as a player base, that you're right, that, it's people, since people aren't getting out of it what they're used to getting out of their time spent with an event, that it's making them go, well, it sucks because of this reason or it sucks because of that reason. And and it's just it's a way to like kind of easily dismiss the content, but I don't know that the content is that easily dismissible because you've got the rewards that are coming out of it that are currently relevant, which we've said for a long time needs to be the case. And it's encouraging an inherently different style of play than we're used to, especially on the pick up and play style.
It is, but in the same sense, for like I said, a lot of those people in the middle, instead of being able to hop on and progress, especially such as myself, as I main Dragoon, is that I hop on and I've got to spend 20 minutes in Duty Finder if I don't have FC mates on.
Right.
So I'm already wasting basically a half hour. I'm not big into crafting. Hunts are okay, but, they're overrun by hunt LSs and FCs. It's not something you can just pick up and do. Fates are nearly pointless for any type of meaningful EXP, not in terms of instant dungeons. So I'm basically every day writing off 20 minutes to just go do something else while I wait for Duty Finder to ping. That's never happened in 11, and I hate to keep using that as a comparison, but as an MMO, that's a very strong reference point. But that never happened unless you were shouting in Organ for an hour and a half trying to get a party.
Let's get those boys clean.
I'm sorry. It never happened in FF11 that you had to wait for something?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not
I was going to say, I beg to disagree.
Yeah, right.
The 20-minute wait on the Duty Finder is nothing like waiting for Ground King.
No, not at all.
For a
but
party.
What I mean is that if I wanted, I can at least in 11 be more proactive than with Party or Duty Finder.
But you can do that same thing in FF14 too. If you don't want to stand around and wait 20 minutes for a Duty Finder, start asking around. Is there a healer that wants to queue for me? Is there a tank that wants to queue with me?
But that's once again a sense of the frustration that, in my opinion, just simply wasn't there in 11. People were more able or more willing to party with unknowns or randoms in regular, EXP parties than they were in 14.
But that's
with Duty Finder in 14, and we've seen this. If you look on the Reddit, up and down the Reddit, or any of the forums, one of the main things that people who are in the middle, I'm not talking about people who are dedicated to the game strongly, but these people who are in the middle that have an issue with Duty Finder or Party Finder elitism. I go in, hey, maybe I want to try Alexander Savage 1. Oh, but I can't go. Oh, no bonus. Well, how am I supposed to learn? I get into a learning party. Oh, it's mostly for FC, or we're just looking for one guy. Oh, we're only looking for a healer. Oh, this, that, and the third. I'm not talking about the structural issues of the game. The game is trying its best, and the dev team, I feel, are trying their best to allot for those types of things. The problem I view is within the community itself, because it's been incentivized to get good at the game in a week.
Yeah, no, I think what you're driving at is the same point that Arthur's was driving at a couple of weeks ago, is that they're really just outside of people who want to solo queue or people who operate in an FC that are looking to fill a hole for an event, that there's really not much of a pug mentality that exists in the NA community. And I agree with you there.
Exactly.
Arthur's
at large.
Arthur said the same thing.
Just like there are, you said there are the people who just want to solo queue, and then there are people who who are in dedicated FCs. The only way you're getting into those is if you are, able to fill the specific spot they need. But just like you said, that the majority of where the revenue is coming for Square Enix is from this big middle section, in between the casuals and in between the hardcores. They have link shells too. And if all you're doing is logging on each day and queuing for 20 minutes and you wish that you didn't have to do that, you wish you had more people to do, start spending that 20 minutes while you're queuing looking for an FC, because they are out there. I mean, a lot of them are duds, sure, but they are out there. I mean, you come to Sergeant Anus and you got the LBR link shell.
They're
Go to Ball Aids. They're there too, apparently.
About, like I said, I'm just talking about the core mentality of those groups. If you're stuck in the middle or the upper tier of that middle, it's really hard for you to break into that kind of elite class of FCs or groups.
Yeah, and
to start rating and to begin to start getting statics, because I mean, the game the community just does not incentivize that type of behavior.
Totally.
Whether as in previous MMOs in 11, I don't want to say it was easy, but it was easier for you to at least rub shoulders with those types of people.
Yeah. No, and to your point about FF11, I think the reason that we didn't see that very often in FF11, and we saw a much more willingness to actually be social and get to know people,
the only way to get anything done,
is because there was a lack of a matchmaking system completely. If there was any kind of matchmaking system in 11, I think that would have inherently cut down on the social aspect, and it was also it wasn't region locked by the servers weren't region locked, so communication was inherently different across that game than it's ever been.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And just my last quick comment that I want to say is that as a lore junkie, I think that Heaven's War was pretty okay. As an expansion, it could have been better, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse. What I want to ask you guys, and maybe it could be a redundant question, is that clearly, quote unquote spoilers, it seems like they're pushing us in a direction towards the Alamegan side of the story.
Oh, definitely.
What do you think they could add in terms of maybe jobs or abilities that would really fit into the lore? Outside of monks, because monks already there.
Of course. Samurai. I think dancer I think is a pretty good one.
Yes, Nico, we get you.
We get it.
I want samurai too, but I don't see where it fits in the lore. I want samurai really bad, but I don't see where it fits in the lore.
Well, why not? We don't. I mean, we could same way that when we got dancer in 11, it didn't fit in until they made it fit in.
Well, yeah, because I think
all we have to do is say it's an ancient thing in Alamigo that was extinct when the monk thing came around and they knocked him out of the balance and the samurai went into hiding. Like, it's so easy to fit that into.
Yeah,
the lore.
I think that.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think this team's that lazy though.
No, that's how. I mean, honestly, the only real way to add new jobs into a game that already exists is to say this is a new job from a new land you've never been to, or this is a group that's been in hiding and there's a few left. Like, there's really no other way to add it into existing.
Yeah, it's the exact thing they did with the ninjas.
Yeah. I see the chat lighting up: Red Mage, Blue Mage, Mystic Knights.
I think that Red Mage could work really well, especially.
I think Red Mage works really well
if they treat them in a way to where, like a lot of people, since we just have White Mage and Black Mage, like you either choose Black Magic or you choose White Magic,
right?
And Red Mages could be sort of treated as a sort of like outcast, like you can't really focus on one or another, so each guild sort of like kicked you out, and so you kind of became a renegade and did your own thing.
Yeah.
But you had refresh.
Yeah, well, that too. The thing is I don't know that Dark Knight totally fits into the lore either. It is kind of one of these.
No, see, that's the thing.
It's not really connected to the world.
It doesn't have to necessarily be connected to where we're going.
I think that stops me as a person who's really into the lore of this game from leveling that job.
Mm-hmm.
It was so out of place.
It was.
Hold
on. What about astrologian? How does astrologian specifically fit into Ishgard?
You already had the observatorium.
Exactly.
You already had that already in place long ago. I mean, long ago.
There are actually NPCs in Fates. There are NPCs and fates in, I think, in Kurthus that are actually called astrologers.
Right, no, I get that, but what I'm saying is, how is that specifically Ishgardian? They could have very easily had an observatorium in each of the three city nations, too.
That's exactly
But that was a style of thought, and that was a school of thought that was specific to Ishgard at the time.
Right, and
they had already world built that. What I'm saying about Dark Knight is that all of a sudden, people clamoring, and many of us talked about it before in terms of in the community. Oh, Dark Knight would be awesome.
Yep.
And I don't want to say they caved, but it just seems like, as a good dev team should, they listened to the player base and gave them what they wanted. However, like I said, as somebody who likes the lore, I mean, you literally just have a guy who's just like listening to your inner darkness.
Yeah.
And that was it. It had nothing to do with anything else. Even Machinist made way more sense in how they put it in the game.
Exactly.
Than Dark Knight.
Exactly, yeah. At least with Astrologian and Machinist, they did feel inherently Ishgardian.
Mm-hmm.
They were tied to Ishgard and the lore of Ishgard. You could have literally had the Dark Knight NPC anywhere in the world disambiguated from Ishgard, disambiguated from anything, and it still would have
because there's no guild
exactly
for Dark Knight, right?
Exactly.
Because
It's more of
the
like
Astrologian and the Machinist don't have a guild in it.
I mean, the thing that's interesting about it is Dark Knight is more like a school of thought than a discipline or a guild in this game, which I do think makes it a little bit more interesting. But then they didn't really. I don't think that
they dropped the ball, because right in this, when you go to the pillars, they have the tribunal right there, which all they would have had to do is say, oh, these guys are basically like police officers who go after, renegade Heaven's Ward Knights or something. I mean, to me, it seems like it would have been way easier to do that than to just put some guy there who, just looks a little creepy.
I do agree. I think that they did drop the ball in terms of the potential narrative for that. I definitely agree. Yeah. Well, Prince Clary, thank you very much for calling in today. Really appreciate it. Great to hear from you. And dude, we got to get you down to the studio one day.
Oh, yeah, sure, man. I'd love to take a part in any type of, lore panels or anything, man, because, I'm just a filthy casual.
Well, the next time, you know what, we do need to catch up with Ethis Asher and talk about, Heaven's Word lore and, additions to what we've found out about stuff in 2.0 with 3.0, as we talked a lot about last time on the show, a lot being revealed about the Makai and the fourth I think it
Calamity?
was fourth.
Yeah.
I think it was the fourth Calamity, yeah. So, there's a lot. I mean, there's definitely a lot to dig into, and Prince, we hope that you'll come back and join us for that.
All right, thanks, man. Great show.
Thank you very much. Prince Clary from Gilgamesh server calling in there. Again, a good friend of mine, and we used to work together at a radio station in the area, and very good to hear from him. I'm glad he was able to call in today. If you'd like to call into Limit Break Radio, send a Skype message to Limit Break Radio or 810-515-8715. I know we've got a couple of people lined up already, and we're sort of getting towards the end of the show. So we're probably, if we're gonna get through some more callers, we're probably gonna have to rapid fire them here. So make sure that your point is ready to go right out of the gate, and
because otherwise we're gonna drop you like a bad habit.
Anyway, all right, let's move on to this next email here. Nika, how about
the next one is actually super fucking long.
Is it really?
Yeah,
wow.
I would suggest
it's like 4 pages.
I can read it.
Go for it,
unless you
Nika.
want to skip it.
No, I don't. Well, I mean, we didn't get that much new email this week, so
let's. It's Reddit related.
Well, let's see. It's from Damajatin.
Yeah, let's just go ahead.
All right.
Sure. I mean, and we can use talking points as we go along. If it gets too long, we can break it up. All right. He says, "Hey, hosts and hostess. Sorry for the length and butchery of the English language on this email, but I feel like this has to be done." Is to talk about the health of our North American FFXIV game community. Arthurs, I call you out, bro, to call back in with any information to add to this email or counter anything that I said here. I think I would like to weigh in on this community issue that Arthurs has called us NA players out on, and the email that was read on Sunday, November 15th, that email is covering both sides. I have some very interesting and correct points on the issue, but I am a very well-rounded, experienced MMO veteran who has seen a lot of things in my MMO life, and I find that the major issue that hasn't been spoken of is play style. Here is a story of how playstyle has caused major issues in my experience. I played Star Wars The Old Republic for a bit, and I enjoyed the story side of it, but the overall aspect of no matter where you go, there was forced group content in the open world where some playstyles would really have issues with each other. The one I came across was on the planet Hoth, where there were 2 world bosses that spawn in a known location, and one of the world bosses, Garth, had a low drop rate for a vanity pet that is a Twan. But even as max level at the time, you still need a group the size of a small raid group, 8 people. So on one of the times I was working for it, I had a player who was a lower level tank than I was and told everyone and then repeatedly that I was the main tank. And this tool still went off like they had their healing follower NPC helper out and was ripping hate off me. And yeah, we would hit the enrage timer and wipe. When I booted them, the group disbanded because the tool was ripping on me in general chat. Since they got kicked for, according to them, nothing, where it was a kick since they didn't know how to play in a group of player characters. The second time I had an issue with the same world boss on Hoth was trying to get a group for it and had another who just for shits and giggles ran into the boss and killed themselves. Then I joined a pre-made group for it and they also joined, but we all had assistant and I kicked them for not being serious. So they in general chat complained I was ruining their fun, but them not being serious was risking my fun of downing the boss to see if I could get the loot I wanted. So I would really like to mostly hear Nika's opinion, but I feel like the play styles really need to be considered as a way of setting up the group content so that we maybe have a 4-dungeon expert roulette because we have it set up that the people are preparing for relic weapon don't have to work with undergeared players in a level 60 roulette. I'd rather let the newer max level players do something like Void Arc as a catch-up thing with 24 people to make up for some of the really newer players' unknown mechanics. One of the major issues that we in the NA data center have is the gear of the player base, where I could have an item level 201, but be with a group of freshly through the storyline 60s in a level 60 roulette. And yeah, I'm ripping hate off of the tank because I'm overgeared and still trying to get esoterics for my relic weapon. I'm currently working on capping the tombstones and Grand Company seals that I can, but the hunt seals I have been using to get my item level 200 upgrade items and the mount too. So yeah, those will be a little bit more work. But the point is, I am more of an optimized gamer than anything, where I log in and I know what I am doing and how long it should take with the right playstyle, and it annoys me that it takes longer or a wipe happens since I know the mechanics fully after the first time in the dungeon or whatever the group content is. A part of this leads into the challenge log entries that I could fully do when they were 20 overall, but now with 30, I need to work extra hard to get them all done, which I would love to see 2 entry for raids per week. The biggest issue I see is the pay structure. With JP, it's paid per hour, thus the player base needs to be very focused on the end goal, but here in NA, we pay monthly. Is that true?
Really?
JP is paid per hour?
Wait, What?
Maybe in China.
I don't know. I've never heard about that.
Yeah, that sounds kind of crazy.
Anyway, I know there's some Asian country that has to pay per hour for World of Warcraft, but I don't know that it's JP.
Really quickly, I have a little to side to Skuro who asks, can LBR please stop sucking Arthur's
LB
dick?
Army.
Well, all I have to say, Skuro, is this is what happens when you actually have good, relevant things to say and you know how to properly express them to people. People like you, and you're cool. And when you don't do shitty things and play machinist, people don't like you. So.
All right.
But anyway, I think the chat is saying that he's thinking that China might actually be like that. But
yeah.
Continuing his email, he says, so most of the tools, they think they have a long time to finish stuff. So it hurts players like me who just want to finish stuff fast and not wait till the last 1 minute on the overall timer for the duty to finish the run. I think we need on the NA side a bigger filter settings for duty finders, such as language, roulette, sync or unsynced, and loot system. Some of us want to speed through stuff without needing to carry lower level players through the content. Okay, I'm going to stop right there for a second and say that's the point of the duty finder.
Yes, I'm going to
agree. Is to help the lower level players, because if all we did was start clicking on I just want to speed through the dungeon, then the lower level players will never have anyone to queue with.
Exactly, yes.
So I see your point. I see your frustration. I can't agree with you.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't agree.
I'm going to keep reading. He says, like the primal pony farms I did, I had a level 55 and level 54 player who want to come, but I had set it till item level 170 and only level 60s. I wanted to have faster runs and players who knew the mechanics to come, and the 2 lower level players just mouthed off to me when I told them I didn't want to carry them, since that is what they wanted. So I think if we could filter groups to the point where we could not need Party Finder for simple things like pony farms. Okay, it would be kind of cool if you could duty finder for pony farms, but
I just don't think that there's a systemic way to do that without creating some kind of bias, and of course then the official forums would explode with like, that's not fair to casuals.
It wouldn't really work. And the whole point of doing that when party finder is so that way once somebody gets a pony, they stick around and you have less and less competition until more people get ponies. If you had to duty finder every time, you probably still never get it.
It's not a systemic problem, and the thing is that part of the thing is to encourage encourage more skilled players to help less skilled players. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that there's enough of an incentive that way for for more skilled players to be helping less skilled players. Because I mean, like, look at something like raiding. Okay, most people who end up raiding, they get their shit and they're done raiding. They don't go, oh, now I'm going to help out the people who are struggling with it. They just fuck off because they're done. And I can't hardly blame them for that, because I feel like I would have a very similar attitude towards that. And so, if there was something that they were getting out of their participation in challenging content, then there would be a reason for them to help out. And I do think that there needs to be an incentive. You can't just hope that altruism is going to win the day, because it's not. It's just not.
Nah, fuck that shit.
So, all right, let's wrap this up here.
Yep, he says the biggest thing that causes us NA players not wanting to help each other out is egos, which, I mean, the player who knows the content rather than not training up a replacement for them to better the community as a whole. Egos can be hurt too, like helpful pieces of advice, if not done the right way, can hurt other players' feelings. I don't like this issue in the NA community, but it's there the we wants, which is a sad player base. Some can't be happy to play the game. They want to have the best DPS out of all the other DPS jobs, or for the other two roles too. So they want to buff for their job and nerf for the others, or they want the raids or the other group content to be nerfed to get them through it without doing the work to earn the clear. The worst thing that the worst thing that the next line says Reddit. The worst thing that a community like this NA community has against it is the worst forums like Reddit who'd rather get e-orgasms than giving out the right information for things, like what would be the best way to meld your relic weapons to progress it.
Now I gotta stop you there, because it's especially on things like Reddit and on this show, we get a lot of criticisms for spreading misinformation or false information on this show, and it's a discussion. Same thing with Reddit. It's a discussion. Yeah, somebody's posting that has a main point to something, and then a discussion erupts after that. But if you just read the main point and go, oh, well, that's truth, and you don't see what people are saying about it, then you're not really doing your due diligence there. Okay, so you really need to be paying attention to what is a discussion and what is being presented as fact and strategy. Limit Break Radio has never presented anything as fact or strategy. It's a discussion. Things change. Opinions change all the time. That's normal. That's normal for a talk show. It's normal for a discussion space like Reddit. Same thing. Somebody's coming in and they have an idea, and then a big discussion erupts about it, where some people are saying, no, you're wrong, or you're incorrect, you're misinformed. It's contingent on you to be able to go and figure that out.
Banna says, check the party finder. Speaking of carrying people, there's literally someone in our party finder right now up for Thornton that says, carry me, I'm bored of pugging this.
Fine. At least he's being fucking honest about it. At least he's not
funny.
Going, I'm super dedicated, I'm gonna whatever. No, like, fuck that. At least he's being honest about it.
Yeah, I mean, 2 weeks ago, we were pissing all over Reddit, and today's a Nero sucking their dick. Things change.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, there's always people everywhere that are going to have those opinions, but also some great things do come out of Reddit. Like he's saying, that giving out information like building relic weapons. I found plenty of great information for Paladins through Reddit threads.
Oh yeah.
So you can't say that it's everyone.
Yeah, they had the light tracking thing that was going on before a lot of places figured that out. I mean, yeah, there is definitely. I mean, like we spend two weeks given a portion of the community shit, and people think that well, fuck that. It's all no. It's all part of a discussion. It's all part of a dialogue, and that's really what this show is all about: is creating a dialogue. I don't care if I say something wrong and people jump all over me for it. Fine, jump all over me, correct me. I'm happy to be corrected, or I'm happy to have a discussion about what you think is correct versus what I think is correct. But it's not completely objective. We've never presented it as completely objective, and I don't think any of the discussions should be presented as completely objective either, nor should they be taken on their face that way. So anyway, continue.
Yeah, he has one more point. He says the last major issue here in North America is that Blizzard has made WoW a face roll MMO where you don't need any skill to play it anymore, which then we get those players coming over at the end of the most recent expansion pack. If we're at the beginning of our expansion pack's life and it drags down our community skill level tenfold, and we need a way to block the account buying players to help this issue. I know Arthur's also said in another call about being patient with newer players, but on Neverreap, try doing the last boss and going through 5 shield phases and not even hitting 5% health at that point, and you're the best geared player as a Bard DPS in that group, working on your weekly esoterics cap, and try to get the overall esoterics cap for your relic weapon in December. It's hard to be patient when even with the gear the other three players got, the boss can be killed faster.
I really feel like the end of this email needs to be tagged with a big FMFFL because that's what it sounds.
The end of the email is tagged with Team Nika for the win.
Okay, whatever.
That's the FMFL.
Yeah. Well, no, but again, yeah, it really you just shared a whole bunch of shitty personal experiences that don't need systemic adjustments to fix them.
Well, no, to be fair, he also sucked Arthur's dick a lot too.
Yeah, that too.
So that's important.
Okay. So all right, but thank you for the email, Damage At, and we do appreciate it, even though we didn't agree with you, but we do appreciate it.
I need to read this next email.
Okay.
Well, before that, we have a caller on the line.
We have a caller on the line.
Who is it? We're acting my ego building.
Anari on the line from Coral.
Hey, what's up, Anari? Is that how you say it?
It's Henri, but it's perfectly fine. I get this all the time.
All right.
Oh, see, I was expecting a girl with that name, but pronouncing it the way it's supposed to be pronounced, now I understand it's a dude.
Thanks for calling Limit Break Radio, Henri. How you doing today?
Good, and yourself? I'm here to talk about the community and what I'm trying to do to help it.
All right. What are you trying to do to help the FF14 community?
Cyanide pills?
Yeah, absolutely. Going to give a little bit of a backstory. I played World of Warcraft for a good 8 years, and I raided with Method for a good 2 years.
Oh, that's some top quality rating right there.
Is it? That means nothing to me.
They went for World First a couple times, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Right.
Big experience that we had was Ice Crown Citadel. It was a really difficult endgame raid. Something we did back then during our off time before we would do our core progression is we would do alternative raids. So we would get on our other characters and we would recruit people. We would recruit people that did our roles. So for example, I was a healer and I would switch to DPS and invite a healer. We would then bring them into Ventrilo and we would say, awesome, so we're going to teach you how to do this raid, and this is the guy that's for our core group that's doing the job you're doing. Let's sit through this and let's teach you anything you need to know and try to get you through this as fast as possible. And we absolutely loved doing it. It thrived and it exploded the community.
That's awesome.
Trying to, in a sense, do it in the same way for Final Fantasy, but it's really difficult because unfortunately the community has gotten to a point where everyone's really silent.
What do you think?
Either they're silent or they refuse to listen, and they'll yell at you.
Silent as in they refuse to listen to any advice, anything that they get called out for.
No, that's interesting because now thinking back to my probably I would say my earlier time in WoW. In fact, it was during Wrath of the Lich King when my playtime was probably most prominent before, in my opinion, the game went to shit. But there was a distinct kind of mentality about raiding on there, and I don't know exactly where it came from, if it was the type of players, if it was the type of fights and the mechanics that produced it, but there was a certain level of, I don't want to use the word professionalism because it was World of Warcraft, but when people were in raid groups, even
dedication,
maybe dedication, but there was this certain mentality of, all right, it's raid time, so let's get to work.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, here we are trying to get our fucking, what it is? It's Duty Finder. Because even in World of Warcraft, before they came out with the Raid Finder, if you want to do raids, you still had to put it together. And I think what has caused a lot of the mentality that we see nowadays in Final Fantasy XIV is the Duty Finder. People expect to just pop into the Duty Finder and be able to run it. Nobody cares to learn, or the people that do care to learn, nobody cares to teach them. There's just this big clusterfuck of all these varying mentalities. And back during, again, a great time period in WoW, during Wrath of the Lich King, it was all about getting down to work. So it doesn't surprise me at all that a top guild like Method would actually go out of their way to talent search. That's essentially what you were doing was searching for new talent.
Does that scan, Henri? Do you think that has something to do with it?
I absolutely 100% agree. Duty Finder, it ruined World of Warcraft. It absolutely killed it the moment the Cataclysm launched and they introduced Dungeon Finder, as it's what it's called in there.
Right.
I think for dungeons it's okay, but for bigger things like raids, it was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's really interesting. That's super interesting.
Something I never would have.
I noticed that even in things like dungeons, people just don't like to talk. Like I've argued before about like black mages I've tried to help and they would like fight me on it and say like, do your job, you stupid tank. But like yesterday I was doing one where literally there was two people doing their job. Like the healer, because they were new, they had a little sprout, so I was trying to help them. The healer was healing in cleric stance and the black mage was spamming blizzard. So I was literally just talking to myself, trying to tell them to change. And eventually I noticed that they did change what they were doing, but they never acknowledged that I told them anything. They never said thank you. They never said, oh, I didn't know.
Can we sort of like evolve the thinking on this shit a little bit? Like,
hold on.
I feel like, we do have a pretty loud megaphone. A lot of people pay attention to the stuff that we say. And I feel like that, if someone comes to you inside of a duty or a raid or a dungeon and says, hey man, you're not doing what you could be doing, or hey, you're fucking this up, or your rotation sucks, instead of getting all defensive and being like, well, I pay my $12, this is how I decide to play the game, or fuck you for judging me on my rotation, or like fuck you if you don't think my DPS is high enough. Instead of that, why don't we just start responding the same way like Louis C.K. said the same thing. If somebody comes up to you, you don't get to decide whether or not you've been an asshole. It's on somebody else to tell you whether you've been an asshole. And if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, you've been an asshole, you're being an asshole, you don't get to say, no, I'm not. No, instead, the response should be, okay, how did I fuck up and how did we get here? Like that should be the response to criticism, not to get defensive, not to start saying, well, fuck you, pal. It's, like we're all trying to get better. That's, I think, at the heart of the whole get good thing, man. Like, fuck it. Like, I want to get better. Everyone else wants to get better. Stop being so defensive if somebody tells you that there's a way that you can get better.
There's a really great quote from Lucky Number 11. Sir Ben Kingsley's character said, somebody calls you a horse, you tell them to fuck off. Somebody calls you a horse again, you punch him in the face. They call you a horse a third time, well, maybe it's time to get a saddlebag.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
in their defense, though, of the people that Nika was running with, they did have a good point. Shut up and do your job, you stupid tank.
Yeah, except everything doesn't die fast enough because the black mage is literally using Blizzard 1 when they should be AoEing fires.
There's a difference with going into a duty finder and people not willing to take advice. But if I'm sitting there on my ninja and I'm parsing and I'm getting 1150 DPS and the black mage is over there sitting there doing 200 DPS, I'm not only going to call them out for being shitty, but I'm going to call them out for not accepting advice at all and hitting need roll on gear that they don't near, sitting in full 200 and 210.
Yeah.
If you're going to go into duty finder and you're not going to do anything, why the hell did you even enter duty finder?
If you're going to pull shit like that, you should be queuing for PvP.
Absolutely. Anyway, Henri, what are you attempting to do in FF14? Is does your group have are you trying to do talent scouting in the same way that you did in WoW, or what are you trying to do in FF14 that is not necessarily getting the same traction?
Unfortunately, my old free company that I was playing with on Coral server died out.
Oh, that's
but
too bad.
What we would do that I'm trying to carry over now into small little duty finders and party finders is I'm inviting people. I'm saying, hey, you want to go learn this hard mode? You want to go do Titan EX? Or maybe you want to come into our pony farms and you're scared because you don't know the fight. Come in and join our TeamSpeak, and we'll be more than willing to tell you what you can do to get better. No one's here to judge. I'm just trying to have an open and honest heart and say, I'm not going to be a dick.
That's great.
You're accepting that.
I'm super happy to hear that, Henri, and I think that's the exact right attitude that will encourage newer players and maybe those that are a little less confident about their skills to step up and try. And I think that, for those that are a little bit nervous about it, or for those that aren't as confident as they'd like to be, that really just doing it is the best way to be able to work through those feelings and to just, sit down and do it, and to know that the rest of your raid group isn't going to judge judge you or they're not going to be a dick to you is a great way to do that. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
And Henri, if your FC fell apart on Coral, there's always room for you at Laser Beam Raptors on the Sergeant Anus server.
That's true. And if there isn't, we'll make room. But anyway, Henri, thank you so much for the call, and good luck to you in trying to be a lot more inclusive in the people that you take to events. So that's awesome. We love hearing that. Thanks, Henri.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me on. Shout out to Nika. I watched your stream for a little bit. Shout out to my free company, Scholars of Halone. And I might actually think about server transferring.
That's what's up, bro. That's what's up. Thanks, Henri. We really appreciate the call today. All right. Maybe we might get one more call in here, but let's definitely get this last email.
All right. This is the last of apparently our new emails. So, dear hosts at LBR and hi, Nika, smiley face.
Hi.
There's a question that I've been asking people in my link shells in FC, but no one has given me a definitive answer, so I'm hoping you can provide me with one. That being, is it considered rude to go into content blind at late points in the patch cycle? Now, I'm not against running blind at all. I'm the type of maniac that gets up as soon as servers go up on patch days so I can run new dungeons with people blind and get completely obliterated by it and experience the fun of figuring it out. I timed out of World of Darkness Day 1, but because I was on Mumble with my FC and we were all working together, it was a great experience. As was my very first run of the Chrysalis when we thought the best strat was to pop the tank LB3 before going into the white zone. Going in blind is fun as hell, and it's best when you're with friends. But don't get me wrong, I'm currently loving alt jobs through dungeons, and whenever I see someone that's new, I'll take the time to explain the mechanics to them because I want to be helpful and make the community a better place. When 3.1 drops, I'll be the first in the FC to run the new dungeons, and when I do them for X, I'll explain every boss along the way if anyone needs it. But just last week, I was running Alexander 2, and the tank was new. No problem there. My problem was that they didn't even watch a video or have any prior knowledge before entering, and because of that, wiped us multiple times. And yes, I did my best to explain it to them. But going in this late to Alexander blind by yourself feels like a waste of time for everyone there, especially because we ended up abandoning it. I'm a pretty patient person, and I will try to help as best I can, but when I saw the vote abandoned screen come up that time, I couldn't hold it in and told the guy, don't waste everyone's time, watch a video next time. And yeah, I was blunt, but I feel like they deserved it. I went into Alex the week it came out. Hell, I healed A1 and A2 blind while listening live to LBR and had no problems. But then I took a few weeks off of Alex, and before I came back, I watched videos that had surfaced because I wanted to be considerate to the people I would be queuing with. All of this brings me back to my original point. Should it be considered common courtesy to educate yourself on content if you're running it for the first time, solo, say 2 months into the patch cycle, or is my patience just worn thin and my pet peeve become more annoying than it already is? Keep up the good work, and sorry for the wall of text. Isabel Izzy Drake of Balmung. P.S. Ascalia, you dick. I spent 200k of my own money to craft you a minion before you transferred back to Sergeant Anus, and now you spent all of your time on your Balmung ult? I can see why everybody hates you now.
Yeah. Well, too bad he's
well,
not
it's
here.
not a Balmung ult, isn't it? Didn't he transfer?
I don't know.
Stick it to him.
I think he did transfer back to Balmung.
All right, so this is interesting.
I think that there is a point in the cycle where if you're like if you're just able to get into the content, or if you're a newer player, that you should be kind of prepared. I'm gonna agree. I love blind running stuff. It's a lot of fun. Right, the Tuesday when the patch drops and we log on for reset day, always a lot of fun to run that stuff blind. Always a shit ton of fun. But the thing is, though, is that you're right. Like, once you're like 6 weeks in and it's like, God, everyone should really be on the same page for something as simple as like a dungeon run. It really does seem like you could invest the time to go look that stuff up, and I don't think you're going to be any worse the wear for it.
Right. I don't think you need to look up dungeons.
Yes.
I think you do need to look up raids, because a dungeon is easy enough to explain on the go, and as long as the player listens. Like, there are some people who probably be like, nope, I want to do this totally blind. I'm not even going to listen to how to do mechanics because I want to figure it out for myself after everyone else already knows how to do it. That's kind of pushing the line a little bit.
If you want to do that day one.
But I just did Wanderer's Palace hard earlier, and there was actually 2 people that were new. One person said they were new, the other person didn't. But in the end, all I did was just give like a brief description of the mechanics, and we got through it really fast. So it really doesn't.
I am going to disagree with Nero, partially agree with Nika, and say that if you can go and check it out, yeah, sure. And when it comes to raids, maybe. I mean, it's not like the Alexanders are hard.
Yeah.
If you're some kind of like,
if it's savage
if
mode,
you're
though,
some
you should
kind of
definitely look
savage person, then absolutely. But I feel like that kind of comes with the territory. If you're one of
Yeah.
these people, you're not making it that far anyway.
Right.
I think the only thing that common courtesy really dictates is if you're new and you don't know what's going on, say something.
You know,
because then it's all off of you.
Yeah, I would say for stuff like Void Arc, even Void Arc, you can kind of, it's not that big of a deal. But
I
stuff,
mean,
Alex
honestly,
Normal, yeah, absolutely.
When it comes down to it, you stay out of bad stuff.
Yeah.
And most times you kill ads when they're up. Like, those are the basic rules of just MMO. If you can harness the... I mean, how many times do we go into a dungeon, someone's like, I'm new, and we're like, all right, stay out of the bad and kill
And
the
if
ads.
you say you're new, most likely people will help you too.
Yes.
That too.
Even-
So
and
to
no
me,
matter
that's
wh-
it.
no
As
matter
long
if
as you
it's
say
wizard
you're
or-
new, you're covered in my book. 'Cause I'll try and
even
explain
if
it
it's
to
new
you.
content or old content, if you say you're new and you actually ask questions, things will help. Like, I mean, I remember doing Alex normal forwards totally blind, and people actually saying, "Oh, well, you need to kill this," and then when this happens, and then same thing with Diadem when we were going in. I asked like 80 million questions, and everyone just, I mean, they answered them just those flat answers. Like nobody said like, "Noob, you should have watched a video," or "You should have looked up what all of this meant." When I was like, "Oh, is this different in hard mode? Oh, what do I do with that? What does that thing mean?" Nobody yelled at me for not looking it up first. So I feel like, you know, I mean, granted that was the first week, but I still feel like if I was to go into Diadem in a month and ask the same question, people would give me the same answer. You just have to ask and not be a dick about it.
I think that's a great point. Just be open about where you're at, and if you're not feeling very sure of yourself, or if there, you get through one bad wipe and you could just, even if it at the first time you wipe, at the first time the party wipes, somebody goes, "Hey, I'm kind of newer at this, and I'm not so sure what I should be doing." You're not going to get people. I mean, maybe you might get a dick,
but then they're the dicks, not you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, again, thank you for that email, Isabel Izzy Drake. Much appreciated.
And you're right, Ascalia is a dick.
Yes, Ascalia
Yes,
is a
very
dick.
much so.
Yep. Do we have one more call?
Yeah, we have one more call.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Who we got on the line here?
All right, we have, let's see, let me find his name again. We have Swift Slaughter from Adamantoise on the line.
Swift Slaughter, how you doing?
Hey guys, how are you doing? I'm doing good.
Good.
Now, not to put any pressure on you, but we don't have really any more emails, so you're ending the show, man. We need to end on a high note.
All right, so I'll do my best to make sure that we end on a high note here. What I'd like to talk about today is I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on what could possibly be the fix to the combat system. I, for one, love it. I think it's perfectly fine to promote a higher tuned raid environment where all classes must perform at the highest level. I play a paladin, and being a paladin, I'm always in Sword Oath. I'm trying to push above 800 DPS. But I understand that there are players who don't have the time to really dedicate themselves to increasing their skills. So what could be the fix to the combat system that could allow the player base to experience the hardest content, but not at the highest level of play?
Well, I think they tried to balance that out with the normal mode Alex's, where we kind of got the story mode. We got less incentivized gear or less relevant gear out of that, and that you get to kind of experience the fights, but just with nerf bat mechanics instead. I think that's been Square Enix's answer.
Well, they've also said in the past that they would like to look into the idea of allowing you to focus on practicing specific stages in fights.
Yeah, like a practice mode where you can start at like phase 3 of T5 as opposed to wiping and having to start all the way at phase 1 again. So that's also something that they could do. Do you have a suggestion that you want to put forth, or were you just kind of putting the question out there?
Well, personally, I don't know if you guys... Well, I know your guys' standpoint on Reddit, haven't heard the video and such, but I am the creator of Raiden Reborn, which is a website that will be coming out that hopefully promotes the pug environment within Final Fantasy.
Nice. I like it. I like it.
Self-promotion.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that self-promotion. We can't have that out of here.
Mean it.
No. That's you said it, Raiding Reborn? Is that what it's called? What's the exact... Yes. Okay, cool.
The point of it is to be something like a LFR or an LFG website So players who may not have a static to run Savage can get a party together with clear intentions to learn the environment, the raiding environment, without being, yelled at by more experienced players, or having more experienced players not have to carry dead weight. That's the whole point of it.
And I like that idea, and it's also a way to organize players outside of only the game, because when you're doing that through a party finder, that's pretty transient. Sometimes, yes, party finders can lead to like, hey, let's keep doing this. You guys are good. Let's start a static. But if the idea is to start a progression static, or start a static of like, hey, I don't know that much. Let me start a static of people who also don't know that much that want to learn it as we go. That's a way better way to do that than just a transient form on, maybe I know that that Final Fantasy 14.com, like the Lodestone, allows you to do that in some limited capacities, but it's nice that it'll have an expanded capacity through Raiding Reborn. That's pretty cool, man. I like the idea.
Thank you. But yeah, the question is pretty much just like, if there were to be a revamp to the combat system, like what would your guys' ideas be? Because personally, I love the combat system.
Yeah, I don't think that this is necessarily a problem that's inherent to the combat system, and I don't think that if they were to try to address this issue, that changing up the combat system would improve on anything. I think it would be a matter of adding new tools, such as a way to practice certain phases.
Right.
Or honestly, I think that going in the right direction, having the story mode was a good idea, but I also think that they should have released Savage first, given people a real reason to push for Savage besides just the clear and, the bragging rights and yeah.
Yeah, so. No, I totally agree. What is your view of the raiding community at the moment? Do you feel that there's been a huge blow to the raiding community since Diadem came out and because of story mode? Because it feels to me like Alexander overall is way less robust in terms of interest than Coil ever was.
I agree. Coil definitely had the aesthetics of being a really good environment for just you'd want to go in there just because it looked nice, the bosses looked pretty. I'm not really interested in a bunch of goblins wanting to get cheese, or whatever the story is for Alexander Savage. With the introduction of Diadem, I'm a little bit on the fence about it. I really enjoy the aspect of horizontal progression because it allows groups like me, who is, we're stuck on A3 like everyone else. The DPS check can't be met, and we're trying our best, but Diadem really allows us to approach that DPS check a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I like that
That
aspect.
was the purpose of it.
Yeah, well, and I think that was the purpose of having A1 or all of the first turns of Savage Alexander be so highly dependent on DPS checks, because it stresses people out to make sure that they're performing at a higher level than they normally would on their job to be able to either pump out higher DPS numbers or dodge more mechanics or whatever. But then, really you've got the math that's working against you, actively working against you, and that's what's being and if that's where the challenge is presented, then all you need to do is get better gear to make that challenge go down. That's not a challenge. I've said for a while, that's artificially inflating your challenge.
You know what else that we actually haven't talked about since the launch of the expansion, but that was promised to us, was that back end for add-ons. One of the
API?
Yeah, the API, yeah.
One of the useful, although frowned upon add-ons that they had in World of Warcraft, I forget what it was called, but if you stood in fire or got hit by something that you weren't supposed to, it'd fucking call you out in party chat or in raid chat. And, well, obviously that kind of thing, is easily used for shaming in actual, like, pugs and stuff. When it comes to groups that are actually trying to progress and you're maybe not sure where the mistakes are happening and, where it is that you can fix it, having something like that's going to parse out exactly where you're taking your damage, or, where your DPS is dipping down too low and you have to try and pump it up, would obviously go a long way in helping as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the call. Do you have any shout-outs that you want to share?
I'd like to shout out my entire FC by Fire Reborn from Adamantoys. We are the dankest FC around, so if you guys are ever interested in changing servers, come to Adamantoise. I'm the FC leader. I'd welcome you guys with open arms.
That's what's up.
Thanks.
And of course, check out his website coming out soon, Raiding Reborn, if you're interested in trying to hook up with some raid groups. So
also, please make sure you replace the batteries in your fire alarm. I don't want your house to burn down.
Yes, that too. Yes. As long as we, there's a nice little PSA for you. Replace the batteries in your fire alarm. Anyway, speaking of a PSA, you guys want to hang out until after the show today. We're going to be playing the Final Encountercast PSA that we filmed out at Youmacon 2015. We're going to be playing that on the stream as soon as the show wraps up. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, you can check that out at our YouTube page, youtube.com/Limit Break Radio. But coming up next at 7 p.m. tonight, we're going to be going live with episode number 5 of Final Encountercast. Now, I know that last episode was a real big deal because we were talking to David Hayter, and that was awesome. But there has been so much going on in the world of gaming that we have to talk about, that we have to contextualize, so that we hope that you'll make the jump and join us over at twitch.tv/Final Encountercast and join us for all of that discussion. And the exciting thing is about Final Encountercast is much like we take calls here on Limit Break Radio, we are on the cusp of being able to take your calls for Final Encountercast. So we want to know, just like we get your opinions, we get you in on the discussion here on Limit Break Radio, we're going to be seeking to do the exact same thing over at Final Encountercast. So that's something that no other gaming podcast does. It does not let you join the conversation, does not let you call, does not give you the time on the air to let you express your opinion. So make sure that you stay tuned in to Final Encountercast as a place to be able to interact with in a meaningful manner. We're not just going to filter out your emails. We're not going to selectively read your emails, and we're not going to selectively read the chat. We're definitely going to let you interact with it in a direct, meaningful fashion on that show. So make sure that you give us a follow over at twitch.tv/Final Encountercast and join us at 7 p.m. for episode number 5. And also subscribe to our iTunes feed over at finalencountercast.com and leave us a little bit of iTunes love. I don't think we have any iTunes reviews over on iTunes right now, so pop our iTunes cherry for Final Encountercast and let the world know how awesome you think that show is.
Come on, we got so many LB Army people that I know listen. You guys go above and beyond all the time. It's not that hard to just pop open
Plus,
iTunes.
the last episode of Final Encountercast got like 35k hits.
Wow!
I mean, it has been blowing up on in terms of like the podcast distribution. So we're really excited that people are starting to take notice, and we really want that to continue. And the way that you can help get that done is by leaving a review over at iTunes. A lot of people check iTunes when they're looking for a new podcast, and so that is a great way to help us out. So that's coming up next at 7 o'clock over at twitch.tv/Final Encountercast. We'll of course be sending out a host to that in just a few minutes, but we are going to be playing the least quiet PSA here in just a moment after we wrap up the show. So
and make sure if you like what you see, you definitely throw a donation to Team Camp Juxta.
And if you don't like what you see, you might want to have like alcohol and cotton swabs handy.
Yeah. So I would like to thank all of our callers as well as all of our emailers today. Thank you guys. This has been a very interesting discussion. I'm super glad that everyone was able to call in and that we got to most of the emails that we got sent this week. If you want to send an email, send it to hosts@limitbreakradio.com. We're sorry we didn't get to everyone. We're sorry we didn't get to all the calls, but we're super excited that you guys want to stay plugged in to the show and you want to keep participating in the show. That's fucking awesome. Make sure that you're tuning in each and every single Sunday here at twitch.tv/limitbreakradio. Unfortunately, and I hate to say this, but we are not going to be live next weekend. We are actually going to be taking the weekend off. This is the first weekend that we're taking off since we started going weekly about, what was that, 6, 7, 8 months ago? It's been a while.
Your job.
It's been a while. And we've got more than a few people who are going out of town for family events for Thanksgiving. And so we are going to be taking next week off. So make sure that you do send emails, because I'm sure that those will pile up over 2 weeks, and that you're checking out not next weekend, but the following weekend, which is, that would be, we return Sunday, December 6th here on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. So we appreciate, again, we want to thank you all for your viewership, for your listenership, for hanging out with the show. Maybe we'll try to have some kind of additional content for that weekend. I don't really know.
We're going to do our best to try and at least keep up streaming.
Yeah.
I do work retail, so pray for me.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. We are getting into a tough time of the year. We also had weather that could have possibly thrown us off our game today too. So living in Michigan, we do have to deal with inclement weather sometimes. That's what I meant. So we really do appreciate your patience in terms of scheduling and putting things together. And if you do want to help support Limit Break Radio, you can do that at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. All right, that is going to do it here for this episode of Limit Break Radio. I want to thank again all our callers and emailers, our special guest Ayane from our FFXIV joining us at the top of the show to discuss the Reddit drama. We really appreciate his time and all of his insight into running a complicated community such as the Reddit Final Fantasy XIV community. Again, I'd like to thank all of my co-hosts, Kalo Landis, Juxtaposition, and Nika Kayanian. I'm Aniro. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. Today's episode was produced by Kalo Landis and Aniro Grigori. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Scry De La Rosa, Zurian Urexin, Satori Komeji, Karkwin Albarn, Rajan Nelka, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.